Well, good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's had a good weekend. Hope everybody's had a chance to get some video games in before diving back into the old grind. Somehow I've managed to actually get two of these fucking things over the weekend. So I've got another guest here for you today. You know him, you love him. The one, the only Nishquik from Nishquik Pops. And Nish, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. Hello everyone. I'm Nishquik from Nishquik Pops. This is my third time on Liquored Up Live
Third
with
time.
Zoo. Yeah, this is the third one. Yeah. Yeah, I do just general gaming stuff, specifically Nintendo and RPGs. Not really general gaming. I'm very specifically now Nintendo and RPGs, and I've really delved more into the JRPG side of things lately, especially end of last year, early this year, with Nintendo stuff being not as fun to talk about. I've been delving into like a lot of older RPGs, a lot of RPGs that have been in my backlog. I've been knocking them out, been talking about them on the channel, and that's been fun. Either reviews, casual discussions, analysis, theories here and there. But yeah, it's been fun, and I'm happy to be on once again. Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime, man, anytime. Man, Nintendo's not so fun to talk about these days, is it?
I will say it hasn't been as fun to talk about, but I was talking to some of my friends yesterday about this, especially with the big like May 7th this is Furukawa tweet. It's now a lot more fun to talk about because before, like, I think you definitely agree with this, like last year and early this year, just talking about like the future of Nintendo felt very speculative. And
Yeah,
like, of course,
yeah.
like,
I told everybody, get out of here. This is we. What are you talking about? Get out of here. This is the future. The Switch. This is the
yeah, and the
future. Get
thing is,
out of
like,
here.
a lot of Nintendo and like gaming discussion is usually very speculative. Like, oh, what's next? What game are we getting next? What's coming next? And then I sat down and realized, I was like, half of this stuff we're speculating is it, it's kind of like crazy and nonsense. And on top of that, I was like, why are we always looking at what's coming in the future? Why are we always like, what game is going to be announced next? What game is coming next? What direct is coming next? What games are going to be announced? I'm like, why is that always the discussion? And I realized that a lot of like content creators, a lot of videos, a lot of people on Twitter weren't talking about what they're currently playing, weren't
Mm-hmm.
talking about what they have played in the
Ah,
past. And I'm like, then it just got annoying. And I'm like, like talking about Switch 2 was fun for a bit, but when you don't have any new substantial things to talk about, it gets kind of boring. So I'll say this. When that Furukawa tweet happened, when we got like actual substantial like evidence for
yeah.
what this console will be like with the specs, with Nintendo acknowledging that it's real, it's become a little more exciting now.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
like what I like with my channel is that I just talk about my experiences with games, my personal experiences. So I can always go back and talk about like anything that I've played in the past, whether that's like Xenoblade or Zelda or Final Fantasy, which I'm currently binging right now. So that has been keeping my channel and my like interest in gaming afloat. So that's where I'm at.
For sure. I mean, yeah. Nobody wants to wake up and be like, "Oh my God, I've become Nintendo Prime." I can't. MP. He's doing okay. But I gotta
Nate
tell you, I'm sure.
Nate is an exception. I have not like I sometimes wish I had the like effervescent excitement of Nintendo constantly that Nate
It's
does,
genuine.
but
It's genuine
it's
too. That's
it's
what's interesting about
it's
it.
it's great to see it. It's great to see it.
Yeah, that's what's so
Yeah.
interesting about Nate is like I give Nate a lot of shit, but at the same time, like old MP, it's a genuine enthusiasm for Nintendo, and
Yeah.
he's one of the few I can genuinely say that from my exchanges with him. Genuinely
Yeah.
excited. I think
I've guested on his podcast a few times, and it's
okay.
fun to actually like chat with him and
Yeah, I've
chat
seen it on
with
there.
other people about like this stuff, and it's very interesting to see like how like I've been following like Nintendo speculation for a while, but I didn't like intently start following it until maybe like I don't know 2020, mid 2020, 2021. And then is when I like discovered Nintendo Prime, Andres Restart, Rule of Two, like a lot of these very like um, channels that are very passionate about this stuff. And I I think we've just come a long way, and I've learned a lot from a lot of this Nintendo speculation myself as well. I've learned a
I'm
lot about
glad because
yes.
again, it's something nobody can teach anybody shit. I've learned this in this life. I've learned nobody can teach anybody shit. They've got to learn themselves, and
Yeah.
it's been very interesting watching like these new up and coming. Because seriously, I've been covering Nintendo not professionally, but I've been personally covering Nintendo since the Nintendo Wii. Very
You've been following them for like your whole life,
a
your whole
long
life, right?
time. Whole life as a gamer, but in terms of like
Yeah.
actually since the DS and the Wii, like I have an actual
Mhm.
personal like financial interest in Nintendo.
Yeah.
And so I had a feeling it was gonna be I had a feeling it was gonna be 2025 or 2020.
Yeah.
I had a feeling. And I've laid out many times, I'm sure you've seen many times I've laid out my reasonings for this. Um and it's
No one believed you.
no one believed me. No one fucking believed me. But that's okay. That's okay because time converts more than reason, and as I'm very fond of saying on here, eventually everyone will sound just like Zip.
Yeah, and it's okay to be wrong.
And it's
And
okay to be
and
wrong. That's right. It is okay to be wrong
yeah,
because it's a chance to
and many
it's a
people
chance to
were for
recalibrate.
yeah.
Like I said, had I been wrong, had it been 2024, had it been 2023, even had it been 2022, had it been 2021, had it been 2020, had it been 2019, had it been 2018, then I would have had to eat a little bit of crow, but then I could dust off, recalibrate, and say, okay, here's where I fucked up. Here's what happened. And then my next time I do, and again, that's how I arrived at 2025. This has happened before. Where I've actually like nobody's right 100% of the time, but it's like, guys, I fucking promise you, I've seen Nintendo for a long time. Outside,
Mm,
I had one bit of a hesitation, and that was when Mario Wonder and Tears of the Kingdom flopped like a fart in the wind. And then I
yeah.
said to myself, if I'm a Nintendo investor, that was 2024. I still believe that's supposed to be 2024, which is why we haven't got shit for the first half of the year.
Yeah.
That was going to drive Nintendo through 2024. If those two fucking games flop, now what happens? Because we don't have a full year in us. So that's when I figured, okay, maybe it's the tail end of 2024. By the way,
Mhm.
still could be. Just throwing that out there. I could still
Yeah.
be wrong. It could still show up this coming. Although I don't think they're going to, because in June they said, hey, the June Direct is going to be all Nintendo Switch, and we will announce details on the successor literally by fiscal of next year. So we could go
Mhm.
all the way through next March, February,
Yeah.
March without hearing shit on the
Yeah,
Switch. It could
they
be
could do it at the
2026.
very last possible moment. And the thing is, w- going back to what I said, like it would be nice to get information soon, just for excitement's sake.
Uh-huh.
But when it comes to gaming, like I have like if I basically I track my gaming progress on this website called Backlogged. If I
Okay.
go there, my backlog is it would last me entirety of this year, entirety of next year, maybe stretching out a bit into 2026 as well.
Yeah,
And that's not accounting for games I still want to eventually purchase, games that are newly releasing that I would want to get, and games that I will discover from like recommendations, which I'll add to my backlog. So like if
definitely.
Switch 2 is like announced in March 2025, it would kind of suck, but it wouldn't be so bad because I'll still be playing games.
Well, my lazy ass has 450 games to get to, probably more than that at this point. So
Oh yeah,
I'm good. I'm in no fucking
yeah,
hurry. I've got plenty
yeah.
of I've
You
got
won't
enough
have flipped the
content.
Switch
Oh
until
yeah,
you got through all of them.
yeah. I got enough content to last me the rest of my life as far as gaming and in YouTubing. Which again, I've got like 5 reviews queued up now. I just got to get back. Just got to log into Filmora. Just got to log in. Just got to log in
Yeah,
and start knocking some of these out and getting them in video form. And that's going to happen.
yeah.
Eventually, I'm going to stop being such a lazy piece of shit as far as the
I
videos go.
hear you're ramping up the editing game as well.
A little bit, a little bit.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know. You how'd I do? Tell me, because I don't know
I
shit
I
about it.
I really enjoyed your Xenoblade review. I mean, of course, I mean I'm biased from a Xenoblade fan,
Right,
but like
but the
the way it was produced, it was very good. I like the production of that.
okay, the editing
So
was good.
yeah,
Production.
keep that going. Yeah,
That's not a word I hear often with my videos. So that's that's good. That's better than I thought. Because I mean, it's like, gosh, I'll tell you, Filmora makes it really easy. Like that's the
hmm.
one I kind of got walked through.
Is that your video editing tool?
That's the one that Jay from Cold Nights uses, and he got me on that.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, kind of gave
cool.
me a baby's first crash course through it. Um,
Oh, nice,
and as far as like just getting the sound just right, etc.
nice.
Because that's kind of the
I
hard
use
part.
what's called as a DaVinci Resolve,
Oh
and
yeah, that's good stuff.
it's basically like it's on the level of Premiere Pro. It's like a professional video editing
Oh yeah,
software.
yeah.
But what's amazing
I think
is
OJ's
this is a
mentioned
big
that
like
one.
middle finger to Adobe. It's a free software, and if you want to upgrade to Pro, it's just a $200 flat fee, and that's all you pay.
Yeah, this is
Whereas
for the
Adobe is a
license. Yeah,
freaking subscription. Oh, it's so annoying.
yeah. I don't like the subscribe. Actually, I managed to like eke in, I think, just before the subscription started, so I got to buy the license. Yeah. And
Mm,
now they went to pure. Hey, it's we're gonna take money out of your pockets every month. So
yeah,
so eventually I will get back to that. Like I said, Xenoblade 2 is one of those videos. There's a
I'm
long,
very
long-awaited
excited
Breath
for
of the
that.
Wild. There's a Batman Arkham City. There's a Trails from Zero. There's a Persona 5. Got a lot of shit in the oven. I
Mhm.
just gotta get it out. But yeah, I'll tell you.
Exciting stuff.
In terms of what drives Nintendo speculation, yeah, you got like your genuine enthusiasts like Prime, but my fear is that most of the people who drive that speculation, that's what I tried to tell everybody, is that it's actually driven by the game's press, and it's actually it's almost sinister in many ways, man. Because I
Mhm,
want to pose something to you. It's what I posed to Prime, because Prime's like, I don't know why people get so upset about this, and I don't.
mhm.
And to be fair, I don't either. If you're getting mad at bro for making fucking Nintendo Switch 2 videos all the time, you know what you can do? You can do what I do with the Nintendo Switch 2 content. You can just not watch them. And of course, just
It's very
remind,
easy to do that,
yeah,
yep.
and of course, just remind them, hey, that's another 3 days. But not no, that's done now, by the way, which is funny.
Yeah, because Nintendo acknowledged it.
Yep.
It's real now.
But but like I told Prime, I want you to put yourself in like the shoes of a deranged Nintendo fan who actually follows the financials and knows the history the press has with Nintendo, and you will kind of see it from a different angle. And part of that is
Mm,
I was there for the Nintendo Wii. And what I will tell you, Nish, is the press did the same fucking bullshit to that
yeah.
system. They literally started talking about like the Wii successor a year in, just like they did with the Switch. I think I can I can literally pinpoint the first Nintendo Switch Pro video was like a Reg from Review Tech video and IGN articles from 2018. I shit you not.
Mhm. Yeah,
And when you put
it's
that
been going for
together,
a while.
yeah, yeah. And when you put that together with the way the general Western press is with Nintendo, you'll kind of see a pattern emerge. And so,
Mhm.
what I will pose to you, and this is very conspirational, I confess that, is that the
Uh-huh.
gaming press did that not because they're excited for Nintendo new hardware like Nintendo Prime is. They did that because the Nintendo Wii was a threat to their boys, Microsoft and Sony. That's why. That's why they did that.
And it was. In
And
the
it
end, it
was, and
like
it is.
Yeah.
Although not as big a threat to them as themselves, I'll posit.
Yeah.
Um, God damn. But yeah, that's kind of my general working theory for why that is. And like I asked Prime, I said from the perspective of this angry, deranged Nintendo fan, how many Nintendo which if you care that much about Nintendo, instead of yelling at Nintendo Prime, maybe go buy some Nintendo stock, eh? But
Mhm.
anyway, I digress. From that perspective, how many Nintendo Switch systems did this constant barrage of press and speculation cost Nintendo? I've heard it from 2018 on. I'd love to buy a Switch, Zoo, but I think I'm going to wait for the upgrade or the new system or the Pro.
Yeah, I remember even as far back as like 2021,
Yes,
like
it
a
was
good
it.
handful of my friends don't have a Switch.
Yep.
And I think it's so funny. And this like kind of ties into the state of modern gaming now. A lot of a lot of my friends who don't have a Switch and don't play on like the Switch are I notice are the ones who are constantly complaining about the state of the video game industry. They're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, there's nothing to play. All the games are boring. All the new releases aren't fun." I'm like, "Well, first of all, like broaden your horizons, play some different kinds of games, play some new kinds of games. Don't play the same thing over and over again. Second of all, like get a Switch. Like
Yeah. Stop
there's
being
so many games on there."
yeah.
Yeah.
Stop being gaslit by nefarious Western press.
Yeah, and what's kind of sad is I've noticed that there are still many people in the video game space who severely base their decisions off of how good a game looks, how powerful a game is, and they kind of um portray not portray themselves. They kind of feel like they know exactly what they're talking about when it comes to tech and specs and graphics and fidelity and performance. And then when they see something that doesn't hit those kind of check boxes that they have in their mind, like their mental checkbox or their mental checklist of what a game should be, and if one thing doesn't like check off that box, or like if there's like many check boxes that come, and if one checkbox isn't met, they're like, "Oh no, I can't play this game. I can't play this game." I'm like, just give it a shot. You don't know. Like most of my favorite video game experiences came from games that I didn't think I would like. I just gave it a shot, and I was blown away by the result and the experience that I had.
Yeah, just gotta open your horizons a little bit. That'd be my
Yeah.
message to him. Like, yeah, I've got, like I said, I don't think there's a genre on my shelf I don't have that isn't represented on that shelf. Um,
Yeah,
the next your next favorite game can come from literally fucking anywhere. Um,
yeah,
Fuck, if you would have told me that visual novels were going to be some of my favorite shit in the last couple of years, I would have laughed at you a few years back.
yeah,
Keep in mind, I come from like the NES old school game like Contra, Castlevania, Mega Man, Mario, Zelda. Like what I come from like an anti-narrative gaming background. Like I used to literally laugh at that shit. And now I've been actually exposed to some of the best stories I've seen. Like especially given what's going on in fucking Hollywood. Some of the best shit I've seen story wise is although Hollywood
yeah,
seems to be making a comeback too, I'll tell you that. I just
yeah.
saw a
I need to
trailer.
get into Dune. I need to watch like the Dune movies because I think
They're
I
good.
really like them. A lot of my friends are really into them.
They're really
So
good. Yeah.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
like Dune, yeah, and again, let me introduce you to Dune's younger brother Morrowind
oh,
because it takes a lot.
interesting.
It takes a lot from. I finally pried myself off Morrowind though, so I can't get myself psyched on Morrowind.
Yeah.
I've got to stay focused on not. Yeah, I got progress. Must make some Switch progress. So, but yeah, it's
It's
doing
your just chill game, your guilty pleasure, the one
right.
you always go back to.
But put yourself in the shoes of your friends though. They don't have a Switch. They've been gaslit by nefarious gaming news outlets. They've they've got a they're stuck with a fucking PS5 that Like, oh, the sales are so dire on that thing. If the sales get too much dire on PS5, they're gonna have to make a second game for that fucking thing. Nish.
Mm.
There's no games. The games they do have all stick up with a fucking $150 fucking roadmap that may or may not even materialize. They're $70 up front. You got to download the shit on the disc. They don't own the fucking games. Like, and
Yeah.
you can literally replicate that with Microsoft. And so people ask me, it's like, oh, you
Mhm.
really don't have a PS5? You really don't have a Series X? Yeah, no, I don't. No, I don't, and I'm actually fucking fine with that because, honest to God, man, like it is just it's depressing as shit to think about.
Yeah.
What they have to fucking
What's
deal with.
interesting is there's a lot of people who, I wouldn't say they blindly play games, but sometimes, like, when they play a game on a PS5 or a Series X or on PC, they just play it because they're like, oh, I just want to, like, enjoy what it is. But then when you tell them, like, oh, here's all the things behind it, here's the whole, like, digital future thing, then they understand. But even with that understanding, they're like, oh, that's still okay, this is still my choice, I'm still playing the game. But what's nice that I'm seeing with some of my friends is, like, the PS5 library itself is huge with a whole bunch of PS4 games, but even they themselves are, like, slightly, like, they may not be playing, like, the best games on PS5. Like, they may not be playing, like, Persona or Final Fantasy or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or something like that. But they might be, like, branching out into, like, Resident Evil and being like, oh, look at how many Resident Evil games are on PC or PS5. I can, like, marathon all of them. So it's sort of something like that. But
Right.
it's interesting when also people see, like, gimmicks in the video game industry, like VR and things like that, and they're like, automatically, when something looks cool and is cool for, like, a few seconds or, like, a few games, they're like, oh, that's the future. And I'm like, how
It's
it's
because
that's the whole.
they just follow the headlines, or maybe
Yeah.
they work at Nintendo because Nintendo has been like had a sick 3D and VR obsession for years. We're not safe from that, by the way, yet. I kind of joke. I think
I
we're
think
safe.
Switch 2 is going to dabble into VR a lot more than Switch 1 did with Labo.
Yeah, I'm
I
kind of
really
worried
think so.
about it actually, because like as far as Microsoft and Sony, like you got to understand, I come at this from an old school PC gaming background, right? And
Mhm.
so people used to laugh at me for years when I would say things like, "These are just dumbed down PCs connected to televisions." Like,
Uh,
and
yeah.
people used to laugh at me for that. And once again, time converts more than reason, Nish, because here we are. And I'll tell you what has caused that shift to make finally people see my perspective on that is back when I was a PC gamer, it was hard to be a PC gamer, right? We didn't have fucking Steam. You had to make boot discs. You had to calibrate your sound. Any old
Mhm.
school PC gamers in the chat remember calibrating your sound for each game? Um, like you want to play Ultima, you better make sure your sound is calibrated for Ultima's gameplay settings. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Mhm.
You had multiple boot discs. You had to do things like color wheels and fucking game codes in
Oh,
order to
man.
access your game. All kinds of shit, and it made the functional gaming IQ to get into PC gaming very high.
Mhm.
You had to really want to be a PC gamer, and so when I saw these systems come out, I'm like, hey, that's a streamlined, simplified, dumbed down PC hooked up to a computer. These are PC games. These aren't console games. These are PC games, right?
Mhm.
And people laughed. They thought that was really funny. Um, and I got to tell you, now what's happened is that's in reverse. Now PC gaming is very, very easy to get into. And so instead of all the kids being on consoles, now all of the young kids are on PC. That's where they're going.
Yeah, especially with things like Steam Deck, ROG
Uh huh.
Ally, a
Yeah.
lot of these handheld PCs
It's
have reduced the barrier for entry.
even further. Yes. So there's no real. So I always saw these systems as redundant big dongles, and
Mhm.
like that's what I said. These are dongles, and they're like, but they've always been dongles, guys. And it's just now finally caught up with everybody because PC gaming is much more appealing and much more easy to get into than it was back in the 90s.
You know what's funny is I do have a Steam Deck, and sometimes I forget that it's a PC with how much I use it, and
Uh huh. Yeah.
it feels like a Switch in a way. But
Well,
then it hits me when it's a PC when I have like configuration issues or graphical issues or um like optimization issues, and then I'm like, oh yeah, it's a PC. I can tinker around with
uh
this.
huh.
And then I realize how much I can customize my own experience with the games itself
Oh,
or the like
yeah. The
user
joke,
interface itself. And I'm like,
yeah.
wow. Yeah.
The joke with PC gaming is that we spend more time modding the games than playing the games. And that
Yeah.
is no shit, Nish.
Yeah.
That is no fucking shit. That is not a joke. That is a
Yeah.
prophecy. So yeah, and then pair that with the fact that like you're a JRPG guy, right?
Mhm.
What fucking reason did you have a PC until the last few years? Um, because
So
a lot of
I
JRPG guys would just they would get a PS PlayStation for that JRPG, or they would get like a
mhm.
yeah, that's what they would do. And now
So
you can play fucking the whole Trails series on PC.
oh yeah. It's funny because I got a PS5 when the system came out.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Oh, I don't need a PC. I have a PS5. I can play everything on my PS5." I don't remember exactly what compelled me to get a PC, but I remember that in my head I was like, I can play games on this,
Mhm.
but I can also like amp up my like YouTube game with this. I
Yeah.
can edit and I can make good videos, I can stream, but I can also play games like at much higher frame rates than I could on PS5. And then I realized that like I wasn't playing games as much on Steam. Like I was getting games, I was playing games on Steam, and what was nice is when I first had a PC, I was like, "Oh, I have all the options for games." Like whenever a game comes out, I can choose exactly where I want to play it. Because I have a PlayStation, I have a PC, and I have an Xbox. Sorry, and I have a Switch. I don't have an Xbox because like all the Xbox games are going to be on PC. If I want to play one, I'll play it on PC. So
100%.
like,
100%.
yeah, but I realized I was still playing my Switch a lot at that point, and then that's when the Steam Deck came out, and I was like, "Oh, dude, why would I want this? Because I have a Switch, I have a PC, it doesn't matter." And then looked at my PC library, and I saw a lot of JRPGs that were just untouched, like a lot of Final Fantasies, a lot of Tales games. I was like, "Why haven't I played these games?" And then it hit me. I was like, "I would much rather play them on the Switch."
Me too.
So, like the handheld option has like changed the way I effectively play video games.
It's amazing.
And
The
it's
Switch
like,
really knocked that out of the park.
yeah, and I just I cannot like sit down for long periods of times and play games only restricted to a console or only restricted to a gaming PC setup now. Like I can't do that anymore. I want to have the option to take it somewhere else in the house, take it somewhere else outside. Like I just kind of need that flexibility.
Dude, gaming
And
outside is next level. It's like meta. It's so good.
yeah, like if there's like a long road trip or like if I'm like staying at a friend's house, I just want to play the Switch for a bit or something like that. It's perfect for that. And it's helped me get through games a lot faster. And when my the reason I got a Steam Deck is because my friend wasn't using his. He was like, dude, I got this. I use it, but I don't use it as often. He was like, I only booted up Elden Ring and Left 4 Dead 2 and played it for a bit, and that's it. And I was like, dude, I'll buy this off of you. And he sold it to me for a very, very, very good price. So I got it for a steal. And
Nice.
he's now noticing, he's like, I'm glad I sold it to you because you're making way more use out of this than I did. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah, win-win.
I have played through at least 4 full-length games on the Steam Deck already, and I'm playing more on it. And it's great, like especially with now I've realized how to get PlayStation Remote Play running on that. Here was the great. This is one of the greatest discoveries I've made this year.
Okay.
So I was playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth a lot this year, and I really enjoyed that game. It's my game of the year as of now. I loved it,
Damn.
and like I said earlier, like I hate being restricted to the couch or restricted to a big TV because like you can't take the PS5 anywhere else. So I was like, dang, what if I like was able to play this game like right before I go to bed? And then I realized that I could get PlayStation Remote Play running on the Steam Deck. So I did that. And what I would do is sometimes if I had downtime, I would turn on the PS5, turn the TV off, so the PS5 was still running, and just play the game on my Steam Deck on my bed. And I was like, this is the most relaxing thing ever. And a lot of Rebirth, what that game was exploring and like finding a lot of things in the overworld. And I was like, if I want to just do those mundane, quick, like tasks of exploring the world and finding these like landmarks and doing these things, I'll just do that in my bed, do it in handheld mode, and just chill as I do it. And if I want to do like a long, heavy, emotional, like really important story bit, I'll do it on the TV and like be glued to the TV, be able to
Yeah.
record the footage and all that. So like that flexibility has just absolutely changed the way I play video games,
Fucking
and
game
I
changer.
love it.
It 100% is. We went down to Garden of the Gods. I was on a little mini vacation a couple weeks back.
Oh, Colorado?
No, this is in Illinois, Shawnee National Forest. But
Okay.
we
Okay.
went, we went there, and like I was playing Shin Megami Tensei 5 in the forest when it literally hit, was going through Tenno and ended up in the fairy forest right when that music hit in the middle of the fucking forest. It was cool.
Nice.
Like
When you said Garden of the Gods, I expected Colorado because I mean, I feel like there's many Gardens of the Gods
oh gosh, this
all
entire
over. Yeah.
this entire country, if you ignore the giant shopping mall we made it, is a Garden of
Yeah.
the Gods. It's a fucking gorgeous,
Yeah.
so many gorgeous
I
places.
remember
You just
two
gotta be
years
able to
back.
bypass the shopping malls.
Yeah, two years back we went to the Colorado Springs Garden of the Gods,
Ooh,
which was it was pretty cool, but nothing beats Rocky Mountain National Park in Estes. That was a
Estes.
great
Okay, I will write that
excursion.
down. I'll have to check that out.
Estes is great. It was one of our favorite vacation spots because
Okay,
my family, we lived in Vancouver. I don't know if I told you this. We lived in Vancouver, Canada for 8 years. And that place just has a vibe. And we got that vibe from Estes. And I mean, I don't know about I think the rest of my family did as well, but like me specifically, since I grew up in like all my childhood was in Vancouver. And when we went to Estes and we stayed in that place, I was like, this is such a Vancouver vibe.
nice. It's like being home. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I
And
will definitely
that's
have to
that's
add that
another
to the list
yeah.
for sure.
Oh yeah, that's a great vacation spot. Also, that vacation was also a perfect example why the Switch is amazing, is because I only brought my Switch with me. I didn't bring my dock. But once we got into the Airbnb, I went downstairs to the basement. Guess what? The Airbnb host had a Switch dock right there. So I was like, "Hey, if you want to do Mario Kart night, we got in. We did Mario Kart night one of the nights, so that was good. A lot of fun." But
Fucking
yeah.
nice. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'll that'll help break up because lately I've kind of got stuck in a rut. Like I keep going down to Tennessee and getting a cabin there.
Mhm.
So that'll help. Hey, guess what? We're going to Estes. I'll tell her next time. So let's take a quick look
Yeah.
at the super chats real quick. Let's catch up with everybody. So Chill says, "Yo, what's up? What's going on, Chill? Chill drawing first blood in the chat.
Hello. Hello,
Gotta love
Chill and
that.
Inferno.
Yep,
Inferno
Inferno
Fox up in
Inferno
here
Fox is
too.
here, big time friend of the channel. Got to get him back on here soon.
Um,
Um,
Mac is here. I don't know if Mac is still in the chat, but hello, Mac.
hey Mac, what's going on? Welcome in, buddy. I appreciate you. Yep,
Yeah.
I see Mac in here. Everybody kind of greeting and playing nice in the chat. Chill says he's playing Sandlands. I've been hearing about this Sandlands, Chill. Put a little blurb
Oh,
in the chat if you can. I'm kind of curious about that one. Tell me what you're thinking of it,
uh,
what that is.
my buddy Mac in the chat has been playing Sandland as well, and I'll say this: a lot of the critics and the reviews of Sandland were kind of mixed and even negative, but as Mac has been playing it and been telling me about it, he's like, I don't see how this game could have been reviewed so poorly. And I I don't know, like there's some reviews for games where you can kind of tell when the reviewer hasn't completed the game or just didn't understand it at all.
Like
And
it's
in the
like
end, like
90% of
everyone's
corporate
opinions
reviews.
are like valid, but at the same time, I'm like, you gotta at least complete the game
Oh yeah,
first, you
yeah.
know?
I won't even touch a game review until I've at least I've not completed it, not like completionist style, but at least until I have beaten the game. Like at
Oh
least
yeah,
concluded
100%,
its
yeah.
narrative and done what it set out for me to do.
You know what's funny? Speaking of that, I remember when Xenoblade 3 came out, and like OJ does a lot of videos where whenever like a new game comes out where he's like looking forward to it, he
Mm-hmm.
will do like review roundups where he'll like watch all or read all the reviews and like point out like the good, the medium, the not so good, and then the
Yeah,
bad reviews, right?
yeah,
And
very
he'll
useful.
like read these reviews, and for Xenoblade 3, he found many reviews where he was
Yep.
like, I can tell that this person has not played the game.
No,
And
yeah,
I was
those are
like,
useful for that because he will call your ass out too if he feels that you've done that.
yeah. And then I went back and read those reviews and I was like, yeah, this person hasn't played the game. This person doesn't know what they're talking about.
Imagine,
Just,
imagine for a second this getting paid to review video games for a living, and the fact that you dislike video games so much you can't even be bothered to do the thing you're supposed to do for a living.
yeah.
I want you to
The
imagine that.
unfortunate thing about that is I have heard from like some people, and I've just kind of known that this is kind of a thing in video game criticism and
Yep.
like that space. The time they give you to complete a game might be very short, like that review window when you have to like review a game before the embargo goes. But at the same time, like there's a lot of parties who are probably responsible for that. That might be like the publishers giving the codes, the developers who like want to add day one patches and all that. Then the reviewers who will procrastinate and all that stuff, the reviewers who don't play the game as much as they should. So there's a lot of factors going into it,
Yeah,
but at the
there's
same
also the
time, I'm
fact
like,
that I know a couple of these guys, and a lot of them are people who wanted to write for the Washington Post and the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, and they couldn't fucking hack it, and so they're in video game press. That is a lot of
yeah, yeah,
them. Not all, not all, not all, not all, but a lot of them. So a lot of them are kind of begrudgingly there, and then you pair the
mhm,
fact that they feel like they've got to wait for a patch, which I I fucking hate the way we do game reviews, Nish. Let me confess that.
mhm.
I hate the fact no, there's no waiting for a goddamn patch. What did you ship? That's what I'm reviewing. Okay, I
Yeah,
will beat it. I will beat it. But yeah, if it's on the disc, that's the game I'm reviewing.
yeah, but
Because
that's the game in its
your
rawest
patch,
form.
yeah, your patch doesn't last forever. Your patch doesn't last past that system's networks going offline. So
Yep,
fuck your patch. I say that from the bottom of my heart. Fuck your patch. The game I'm
yeah.
playing is the game that you shipped. And so if you
I
decide that if you ship Breath of the Wild to where I get 8 frames per second in Zora's domain and some places in Kakarikyo who go however the fuck you pronounce that, I'm drunk's village.
that is the game.
That is the game I'm reviewing. Now, thankfully the game's great despite that. But no, there's literally places on the non-patch Breath of the Wild where that's not a video game. That's a fucking portrait. You can stick it on a fucking wall. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, that's going into my review. That's in my review.
yeah,
Breath of the Wild. People, I didn't have that problem, Zoo. Yeah, you're playing the patch game. Be thankful you played it during the patch period and not 10, 15 fucking years from now where there is no
yeah.
patch.
Makes me sad that a game like Redfall, which was very close to getting an offline mode, will now never get that.
Redfall.
Like once the
What?
servers are down, Redfall is history.
Yeah. What's Redfall? What is that? What's that?
Yeah, exactly,
Yep.
exactly. There's another digital game which I want to talk about in like later into our conversation, but we can get to
Sure.
that later.
Uh, let's see.
Yeah.
Inferno Fox is playing Forklift with my Inferno Cast crew. Nice. Yeah, Forklift is. Oh, I played a little bit of that. It's pretty fun. Then, yep, Nish greeting everybody, and yep, very nice. How was Sandlands? He says, glad to be tuning in, Nishquik, and then tuning, corrects himself. But he says, very fun so far. Loving this art style. It's a beautiful game. Then Matt coming in. Hello. What's going on, Matt? Appreciate you. Great Wah's in the house. What's going on, Great Wah? How's it going? And he says, just playing some Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and thought I would tune in and see what
Ooh,
you're talking about. Well, that's very interesting, Wah, because that's one of the things
perfect
we're going to
timing.
be, it's perfect timing. We're going to be talking about Xenoblade Chronicles, at least my first impressions of it, because I'm not very far in. But I kind of like the vibe for sure. Then he says, your review videos have been great. I listened to several while I was doing yard work this weekend. Well, thank you. And there's going to be more of those. I promise there's going to be more. Actually, I was just talking about it in the beginning with Nish about, getting back on that horse and starting to actually do some fucking work on that again. For
Yeah,
sure.
scripting out videos is not easy. That's probably my least favorite aspect of
Yeah,
making videos,
and again,
honestly.
I've got the script written because it's just a flip in the switch review. Like the review's done. I just got to get it in there, get it edited, get the right video to put with it. Get the right music in some circumstances because some of these games have licensed music, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
gonna have to find some chill music. Um, and yeah, it's a process for sure. So Rush Dog says, "Good evening, gentlemen. Vancouver vibes are immaculate. Best vibes in
Oh yeah.
Canada," he says.
I haven't been back to visit in a while. I do still have some friends over there, so I want to go back and visit sometime soon because it's been too long. My sister went up recently, like as recent as last year actually. So I'm kind of jealous. I want to go back because a lot has changed from what I remember. It like And last time I visited was 7 years back, and then before that was 2011, and then we moved here to the US in 2010.
Yeah,
So
Vancouver area. I've only ever been on business, and I didn't even have time to stop and smell the roses. So need to go there for myself.
yeah,
Just kind of take it in.
it's if you ever like visit Seattle, it's a nice place to go if you just cross the border over. Because we used to visit Seattle often. We'd
Yeah,
cross the border over to Seattle and hang out there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Seattle's a pretty dope city despite the rain. It's very nice.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, then you got chat playing nice. Skylar G is in the house. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Skylar? Are you getting a MIG switch? So I probably won't get a MIG switch, but I'm glad it's out there for people who are interested. Put it that way.
I want to check out RGT and Spawnwave's video on it because it took them
They'll definitely do some deep
yeah,
coverage
it
of it.
took them a while to get theirs. So I'm very curious how that whole ordeal turned out with them.
Yeah, it's a little newfangled for this old man, but no, no shade toward the MIG switch. It,
Yeah.
it 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 does something that seems like it's pretty cool. Like,
I just found it funny how people are like, "Oh, you can pirate Switch games. Oh, it's the death of the Switch." I'm like,
won't be
I
fine.
I will say this, like I understand like a lot of that, but I remember that there was a tutorial of like there was this video tutorial of this guy showing the MIG switch in action. I did not understand a thing of what was going on in that video. Like, do you
It's
see it?
yeah,
It
it's
was like
kind of a
months and months back of this guy like loading up Mario Wonder on his MIG switch, and everyone in the replies was like, "Oh my god, like you can pirate Switch games or whatever," right? And I was so confused watching that video because he just like put it in, took it out, put it in, took it out, put it in, took it out, and he was like, "Oh, there it works." I was like, that just made no sense to me.
yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. I think basically it's kind of cycling or whatever, but you can tell Nintendo's fear of it by its complete non-reaction to it. It
Yeah,
doesn't seem to
like
be something Nintendo is worried
I
about.
I remember my experience with these things was back when I was in elementary school and my friends had the R4. Like we had we had this like shady like we had this like giant like Asian supermarket and inside there was like these random stores where they would sell like the most random like games and all that.
Mhm.
And that's where like my friends would get the R4 cartridges. and they would put it into their DS and like load up all these games, and I was like, "Whoa, how did you guys do this?" That was my first experience with something like the MiG Switch. Yeah.
And so when Rush Dog says, to be fair to pro reviewers, they sometimes don't get a lot of time to review massive games like Xenoblade 3 before the review embargo date. Well, and therein lies one of my big critiques with the way professional game reviews are done. The review doesn't. Why does the review have to be done by a certain fucking date? Why does it have to be that way? I understand you're trying to give shoppers an idea, so give a first impressions and say the review's coming when it's done. Um,
Yeah.
I,
There's
I
there's
also
some
also also real quick, the fact that these guys are all reviewing these fucking games right in the middle of the hype window. I understand why they're doing it and why they have to do it that way, but I just fundamentally reject the premise of how they literally
yeah.
the entire way they review video games. It's
I
my
think
typical
there's also like a bias with the
yes.
games that they review, because bias meaning like there are games that they will often rush and they won't complete, whereas I I I I have to go back and fact check myself on this, but I remember that there were some critics that delayed their review for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet for I don't know why. I don't know why, because that game is not very like it's long, but it's not like very long. But at the
Right.
same time, why are you delaying your review for something like that? Like, what did you? I unless they wanted to go to every single area and see if every single area was as buggy as the area they visited before. Like, I don't understand. Like, if you're like extending your like your final review date for a game like that, why not do it for like a game that might deserve it more?
Oh, 100%. And of course, like, it didn't change a goddamn thing. Like, hey, you know what? Scarlet Violet, I'll give you Scarlet. And Scarlet Violet's a game I thought about reviewing, and I shelved it because I've beaten it. I've beaten Scarlet Violet. I can tell you the Scarlet Violet experience. It's a Pokemon game. It's fun. The battling system and the new Pokemon are great. It's a buggy piece of shit mess. There it is
I
in one
I was
flavor.
talking to one of my friends about this yesterday. I'm this is gonna sound very harsh, but I'm so done with being nice to that series and to that game,
Yeah.
specifically that game, because there's a lot of people who like this is just my opinion from what I've seen and what I played of the game from my like friends who have come over and showed it to me. A lot of people have said that that game is a step in the right direction, and to me it is not a step, it's not a big enough step in the right direction. A lot of things in the overworld that that game could have done, it didn't do. Like, the overworld is barren, there's no like real good world design going into it, like the game just doesn't look good. And also, I think the big thing that turned me off from the game, aside from like the bugs and glitches and the fact that it was unfinished, was the game didn't have level scaling. So the fact that it didn't have level scaling made the whole doing things out of order kind of sort of pointless to me. And
It
I was
did, and
like,
it did, and it didn't. Like, because I come from again, I come from the world of Morrowind, where literally there's a cave you can walk in and bash everybody's head in, and then there's a cave literally down the road that if you go in, they will punch you. You will get your head punched out through your ass, man. So I'm
yeah,
used to non-level scaling. In fact, it kind of makes the world feel more alive to me, but not in that way. So, like, maybe for the Pokemon in the overworld, maybe there's areas that are dangerous, but for gym leaders, like, you've got to provide a little bit of that for at least a gym leader's
exactly.
experience, you know?
Because like the whole thing with Scarlet and Violet was, oh, there's many stories, you can do them out of order, you can choose which story to do first, or you can choose which order to like complete these things, or you can mismatch them, you can do a bit of one and then go over to another. But if you do that, like imagine you beeline one story and then you do it halfway and then you go to another, and then that second story is like super easy because you're like over leveled and it doesn't level scale. That made me like not as excited for the game. I was like, why wouldn't it take the time to do that, especially if it's a game that is level based. A lot of other games do the same thing with level scaling. So like, why couldn't it do something so simple? I don't know. That along with many other things that just didn't advance the series to heights that I wanted it to, just make me look back at that game with no sympathy whatsoever. I
Well,
know a lot of people in the chat might be very like a lot of people in the chat might be Scarlet and Violet fans, but like I especially when that game came out the same year that Xenoblade 3 did, I was very upset that like Game Freak made a game like that and it was selling so much. I was like, "Oh my god, how?
yeah, no,
How?
that's gotta
How?"
be that's gotta be a fucking
I was like, "Please,
choke down.
people,
Yeah.
understand what you were supporting. Please understand the message you were sending to this company."
Well, then
Because
you see a vibrant world like Xenoblade 3 that is just it's literally that concept done right. Like without the mon battling, basically. Yeah, the open world in Xenoblade 3 is so
yeah,
good, so good.
yeah, like the level of detail and the level of vibrancy and the things happening in the world itself. I mean, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are one extreme. Xenoblade is almost on that extreme, but there's just like the world feels alive. Whereas if you look at like the Paldia region in Scarlet and Violet, it just looks so barren in comparison. Like my friend brought his copy over to my house and I was riding around in the dragon and it felt so weird. It felt so like kind of uncanny. I was like, "Oh, I feel like there should be more in this world. I feel like there should be more to do, more to interact with." But I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that's coming from me as a big Monolith Soft fan, so that's
Yeah,
just my take.
so to talk about Monolith Soft, so started Xenoblade 3, and I love, like, again, this is very early impressions because I haven't had a chance to really pick it up since I started. I'm about 10 hours in, probably not super long
Okay.
in, but I love I this is gonna really date me, but I was telling OJ, you know the movie Logan's Run?
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. You youngins. So this is a sci-fi movie where everybody has like a finite lifespan, right? And so
Mhm.
basically their lifespan is on them and it counts down. I get that vibe from the game story. So it seems like you've got a bunch of people that are in battle in like what seems to be a forever war. And they basically have a finite lifespan even if they don't lose their life in battle.
Hmm.
So there's that, and then there's also the fact that I'm the leaders of these two kingdoms look very familiar. And I know we got some people in the chat, so I don't want to
Hmm.
spoil
I
anything, but
wonder
they
who
look
they could be.
very familiar.
They look
Like,
familiar and they sound familiar.
but not only, yeah, look and sound familiar, and but they're from. Here's the thing: they're from both games.
And
But that's
if
not.
you're 10
But
hours
that's
into the
not
game,
possible.
you
I'm trying to be as vague as possible for Jack. 'Cause
yeah,
it's still a fairly new release.
you've gotten both parties in
Uh huh.
your like
Yep.
okay, so you got Kevis and Agnes in your party.
Yes.
So you can kind of tell what Kevis is and what Agnes is.
Yes.
And I will say this, like I'm not gonna spoil much or I'm not gonna spoil anything,
Okay.
but the way the world works will make sense once you complete the game. And it's the thing is many of us, and you probably did also have theories about how a lot of this came to be because I was like watching all the trailers, all the analysis, all this theory speculation, and we all had like our own like kind of head canon on how this would end up. This meaning like
Yeah, I need to
the
go back and play
two
Future Connected now for sure.
yeah. Oh, if you haven't played Future Connected, I think you should go back and play that
Do
because
real quick. Okay.
that has some slight hints that tie into a little bit
Okay.
of what will happen in Xenoblade 3. I don't want to say too much on that, but a lot of us had an idea of what how we thought the whole I guess Bionis and Allrest meeting one day, what that would be like. But
And that seems to be what's happened, and that's not spoilers. If you've seen the trailer, that's not a spoiler.
yeah, that's basically what even the first trailer at the end of the trailer, the Shinya Takashi was like, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is the culmination of the worlds of Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So that is that, but the way it got to this point, like story-wise, it's very interesting and it's cool. That's all I'll say. I think you might vibe with it. So
Oh,
yeah.
I'm digging the combat. Like
Yeah.
the
What
combat
part
is.
specifically in the story are you at? Like, what has happened recently, if you can remember?
Oh yeah. So basically, we got sent on this mission, and I just got the ability to. Fuck. For spoilers, I'll just use the actual I don't want to use the actual terminology because it might be a spoiler, but fusion ha. I'll just put it that way.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, that was also sort of talked about in the directs and the
Oh, was it?
trailers.
Okay,
So,
okay,
I'm
yeah.
I'm I'm assuming you've gotten your interlink stuff going, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. So, yeah. I will say this. Xenoblade 3 has my favorite cast in the series, and I think you can sort of gather why already. And like the whole big I mean, the one of the reasons which I'll talk about right now, and other reasons I won't talk about, but like the one reason and probably the biggest reason is because they start the game absolutely hating each other. Like one
Yes.
side is like conditioned and raised and like their entire life they've been raised to hate the other side, and they're like, this is the enemy, you need to kill the enemy, they are not your friends. And them being together, them going on this mission together, is completely like foreign and opposite to anything that they have ever thought of in their lives.
Right. And then
And
and then the way the world reacts to their pairing together is very interesting. Like almost feels like a
yeah,
threat.
they immediately turn on them.
Yes.
And what's even cooler is the more you go through the game, the more you realize how limited these characters' lifespans are. Only 10 years. You could maybe like say like they started off at age 10 and just die at age 20. So their whole like understanding of very simple concepts is significantly different from ours. And you can already tell with some of the conversations that you've seen with especially one character that I'm certain that you've already met before right now who's kind of set them on this adventure.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of tell how even specific like party members that you have are very cognizant of their life and their like limited time and their expiration date, and just the way that's written into the story is very very cool because you're like
Well, and you got to
like
remember these are a bunch. Honestly, these are a bunch of fucking kids. Honestly.
yeah, and not to get like super serious about it or anything, but like the game made me realize I was like, dang, imagine if my life was like shortened down or like truncated to that amount of time and I like had an expiration date in my mind. Like, how would I react? How would I
Yeah.
live?
Oh, for
How would
sure.
my relationships with other people be like? And it's just a whole like crazy kind of concept and very, very well done, very well written, and very well implemented
Yeah,
into the
I and
story.
and I feel like and it's always the case with any kind of artistic endeavor, but I feel like they're trying to say something. Like honestly, um, the amount of control that the powers that be have over this world because of this this Half Life thing is
Yeah.
fucking terrifying. Like it's like
Mm-hmm.
full fledged fucking battlefield control. Like is what's going on there. And
I'm
I
glad
hope
you
it.
say that.
Yeah, I hope it. And again, I hope it goes where I think this is going. But like I think back to that Metal Gear Solid 4 trailer where he's talking about information control, DNA control, battlefield control. Every aspect of war is under control, and when every aspect of the battlefield
Mm,
is under human control, war becomes routine.
ah, ah. Um, Without saying too much, I want to tell you this. Please, please do the important side quests in this game.
The side
Important
quests
side
are
quests
so
meaning
much better in this game.
yes, meaning like do the hero quests, obviously do the hero
Right,
quests.
right.
If you can, if it is possible for you to try to do the ascension quests as well, like at the bare minimum do all the hero quests and do all of the character side stories. Basically, later on in the game you will unlock each of the main party members, they will get a side story.
Okay.
So do the hero quests, do the side stories. If you can, do a few ascension quests if possible. That's not mandatory, but the thing you just said about the villains and the way they control the war and everything, you will get so much awesome lore about that in those side
No,
quests.
and I fucking
And
hate it because two of the people control. I can't. Two of the people that seem to be controlling these two kingdoms are people that should be friends.
yeah,
Damn it! What the
it's
fuck is
really
going on?
yeah, it's kind of crazy because yeah, without saying too much, one of my friends who has played one of the other older games saw the first trailer for 3 and he's like, "Oh my god, I can't play this game because of what I saw at the end of the trailer. Oh my god, why would this character be doing this or something?" And I'm like, "I you will you'll understand as you continue. You'll see.
cat,
It's very interesting.
cat girl, bird
It's
girl, cat
yeah
girl, bird girl. It's like
yeah
why? Why?
yeah
Those are good characters. But anyway,
yeah. Um, I will say this about Xenoblade 3 because um you know like how much I talk about it on Twitter and like
fuck
how
yeah,
much I
it's a
talk about it
great
on my
game.
channel. Like it is one of my favorite games of all time. And honestly, to go even further, it is actually, I would say, in like the to me, my modern era of gaming, quote unquote, modern era is 2017 and onwards because Breath of the Wild kind of like reinvigorated my interest in video games.
Hmm.
So 2017 and onwards is my
Me too.
modern era and like current era of video games. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is my favorite game that has come out in that era of video games. So to me, it is like it would probably be my favorite game of all time, actually, if Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask didn't exist. And
Damn.
like I say that
Okay.
to many people just because it's like it's my personal favorite. I'm a huge Xenoblade fan, but like I also don't want to get your hopes up because in the end, like I it took me a while to understand this, but there are many people who also say like, "Oh, Xenoblade 3 was my least favorite Xenoblade," or "Xenoblade 3 wasn't my favorite because of like various things." And at first, I was like, "Oh, how could you say that? It's the best! Like it did everything so good." But like, I recently made a video called, specifically, it was titled like "Every Xenoblade Chronicles game is the best" or something like that. And I made that video because I came to that realization that you could make a case for every single one of these games being the best. Like I remember when 3 released, a lot of people were like, "Yeah, this is the best game," but there were still a lot of fans of 2 who were like,
Yeah,
3 was great, but I
I'm
still
one of
enjoy
those.
2 the
I'm one of
most.
those two converts that it's going to be hard to top two. It's
Yeah,
going to be real
and
hard to top two for me, just because of again, it was an actual, genuine fucking anarchist narrative in a video game, and
yeah,
you don't see very many people that understand anarchy to that extent. Like it gives you
yeah.
all
I think you'll like
stylistic
3, but if you end up like enjoying 2 the most, I will like totally understand because like each of these games is the best in its own way. Like even like one of my like good friends and mutuals on Twitter, Vengeful Magus, he has played all 3 of the games. He's played Xenogears and Xenosaga. His personal favorite is Xenoblade Chronicles 1. And I'm
Okay,
like, that's
one
still a
solid,
fantastic
solid.
game.
Yeah, solid. Kind of a Japanese take on like Prometheus Unbound, and actually there's like several Frankenstein. I can see
Yeah,
shades of
yeah,
Frankenstein. I can see shades of like Moby Dick or the Count of Monte Cristo in there. Like that's one
yep.
thing. Like the people, the devs in Monolith Soft are fucking readers. You can't tell me they're not. Like they
Oh,
fucking
especially
read.
Takahashi.
That guy
Takahashi
fucking
is
reads,
a
man. I promise he reads.
Takashi's a philosopher, he's a psychologist,
Hmm.
he's a mythologist, he's everything. Xenogears is very heavily rooted in Jungian psychology
Uh
and
huh.
Freudian psychology. There's a whole lot of Sigmund Freud in that game.
Okay.
And I will be playing it very soon. Like me and a few other friends are going to be playing it at the same time like later this summer and doing some like discussions about it. But like
Yeah, no, I'm always
that
very
game,
impressed by
yeah.
the writing. I know his wife also writes some of it too,
Yes,
and
Soraya Saga is also like very heavily into a lot of that stuff, and they created Xenogears together. That is basically their
oh,
brainchild.
I
They
knew
work
that.
together
Yeah,
to, yeah. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's for sure, and always props to that because one of the things I'm often hammering home on is like the Generation Zero developers, people like Richard Garriott, Shigeru Miyamoto. These are the game developers that they made video games at a time when it wasn't necessarily profitable to do so. This is back when video games, like literally, like, I remember Miyamoto in an interview literally talk about his family like looked at him with disappointment that he went into game development.
yeah,
Like they thought
yeah,
like that was beneath him. And
mm,
there was a social stigma attached to developing video games, and there wasn't much of a financial incentive that was known at the time to develop games. And so one of the things you'll notice about these Generation Zero developers is they all in their own way are very interesting people that had very interesting life experiences. So like Shigeru Miyamoto, who was an industrial engineer, right, and loved to get out in nature. You had Richard Garriott. Both his parents were fucking astronauts. Astronauts, dude. Like
mm,
all these people. So if you have interesting backgrounds, if you world travel, if you do interesting and unique things, if you read lots of books or you read widely, that's going to show up in your work, and it's going to make your work
mm,
that much more fucking interesting because
yeah,
well, because your work will be supercharged with all of that nice experience. And I get
mhm,
that. It's one thing like Hideo Kojima and Takahashi. These are developers that, while not Generation Zero developers, the reason why so many people are interested in their products is because they are genuinely interesting people that travel and read widely, and you can tell.
oh yeah,
You can absolutely tell from their work, whether you like their work or not, whether you think the game is good or not. One thing you can never take away from people like Takahashi or Hideo Kojima is the fact that they fucking read. And like, I'll never forget borrowing I think it was a PSP for Ground Zeroes, I think it was called. Or
yeah,
no, Peace Walker. Sorry, Peace Walker. And literally, I learned everything. If you want to learn about Sandinista era Costa Rica, that game will teach you everything you need to know, like the game itself. Like, and I'm like, oh, so while he was playing this, while he was making this game, he was immersed in Sandinista era Costa Rica. Like you can
mm,
just tell by what you're playing, and
yeah,
it's just super fucking cool. And so, yeah, anytime I see those literary elements pop up, whether it's in Persona or Xenoblade, like you get brownie points with me for sure because I'm also a reader and
oh yeah,
I'm a dork and I love that shit.
yeah. Um, Persona has a whole lot of
Oh yeah,
Jungian psychology stuff as well.
oh yeah. Like Persona has a
Yeah,
Persona 5 was great. That was a great
yeah.
fucking game.
I'll say this one last thing about Xenoblade 3 specifically. Like I was saying, it's my favorite game of the modern age. Might as well be my favorite game of all time if Ocarina of Majora didn't exist. Um, each of the games I like for different reasons, but 2 and 3 have a very special connection to me. 2 is like a very, very personal game to me. Like I sometimes say to people like I was explaining this to someone else the other day, but I didn't explain it very properly. But 2 is a game that kind of reminds me of who I am.
Mhm.
If there is like a time where I like feel lost, or if I like need guidance or like anything like that, I sort of remember my experience with Xenoblade 2. I remember the things that happened in there, because a lot of that game just reminds me of who like I am as a person. Whereas 3, I still get that feeling. Like I still have taken a lot from its themes and its message and its like importance and its story, but it's more with exactly what I just said. It's like the themes and the message that it takes away from the game, or that I take away from the game. It's less of like the experience that the characters went on. That's like more what I resonate with 2, and more of what like,
Yeah, I
oh,
mean, if
Xenoblade 2 reminds me of who I am. But 3, like that central message that 3 has, which you will later experience, and like this is not a spoiler or anything, but there is like one line that is at the very end of the game which kind of ties everything together. And like when I beat the game back in 2022, like I beat it and I like went through it and I was like, oh yeah, yeah, it's good. Like I like the story, I like the theme, all that. And I just kind of was like, oh yeah, I beat Xenoblade 3, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then one of my other friends beat the game, and he was like, hey, I like this one specific line at the end, and how like important it is and what it means. And then I went back and I like read it and I listened to it, and I was like, wow, that is something I can take away, and that's something I'll like remember for like the rest of my life. So once you get to that part, you'll get it.
well, yeah, I
So
kind of
yeah.
see it like already because if Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is, I can kind of sum it up essentially with, this is a dying world, and where life tends to have no inherent meaning except for the meaning you give it. And that's, to me, is
Yep.
kind of the embodiment of what Rex is. Whereas Xenoblade Chronicles
Mhm.
3 is kind of a cautionary, which is, in a world with no inherent meaning, if you do not give your life meaning, others will fill that void for you.
Yeah.
And that seems to be
Do you
what's happening with
remember
this
what we
casting.
talked about last time?
Uh-huh.
What is a world like when you don't have the divine force, when there's no like divine entity there?
Oh, other people will fill the void with their own purpose. That's what
Yeah,
will happen.
exactly.
That's
So
what will happen. It's what happened to Malos, and
mhm.
it seems to be what's happening to the entire world here.
Yeah. And there is some specific character um development that happens in this game that kind of just it resonated with me in some ways, that I was like, wow, I realize why some specific person did this, but also why he did that, and it all kind of makes sense based off of the current circumstances and
Right.
situations surrounding the world. It's a game that makes you think a lot, and also it's
Hmm.
just like it's cinema, it's drama. There's like some really just awesome, crazy moments that happen.
Super
Yeah.
pumped. Um, let's see. Skylar G says just watch Spawnwave's video on it, which is why I bring it up. Oh, so Spawnwave has a video on
Cool.
it then. So okay.
Yeah, Spawnwave does, and RGT, I think.
Yeah, good old RGT. Yeah, I wonder how his Knicks are doing right now. I have to rip him about that. Let's see. What have I missed?
Oh,
Let's see.
what's up,
Well,
Upper
yeah,
Nimbus?
he
How's
got
it
here. Yeah,
going?
he got here at 8:50. So not a lot, not a lot. Just us shooting the shit about various industry things. Now we're talking Xenoblade 3, which I'm sure you saw. Upper Nimbus, of course, also being a huge Xenoblade fan. I think when I
Yep.
finish Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I need to have you and Nimbus on with an open bar and
Oh yeah,
just go to
that'll be
fucking
fun.
town. Just go to town, man.
Yeah,
On
that that'll be fun.
just a spoiler extravaganza. So
I,
run for
I
the hills, Rush, on that one when that happens.
yeah, yeah.
Um, let's see. They got Inferno Fox. Everybody chat playing nice. Then you got Great Wall says, I thought Scarlet and Violet were good, but I wish the performance and graphics were better. Yeah, truer words were never spoken. So I didn't even patch the game. It's the strange way I play video games, Wah, and that game was that game was a butter and ham disaster, dude. That game is just nasty. I still enjoyed it despite that. But yeah, there's no sugarcoating or pussyfooting around that shit. It's bad. Like the amount of times I literally got stuck in cave walls because I accidentally activated my fucking dino cycle or whatever. Like, holy shit. Like, or there's like things where like I'm battling a Pokemon and the Pokemon is behind me and my Pokemon. So my Pokemon are like fighting with nothing, and then the other Pokemon is like attacking nothing. I mean that those are the glitches that aren't game ending. So, and the fact that there's no fucking interiors in the entire world, the world got no interiors, none.
Yeah, you can't even go to go inside any of the
No,
houses or
no,
anything.
there's no interiors in the whole
Crazy.
world. They just fucking lounge around outside. There's no interiors. It's all there for
Except
fucking
for the
eye candy.
classroom.
Yeah, you got the classroom and you got like some fucking diner that you battle in. And like the gyms that you don't even fight in the gyms. You go to the gym to register and you're back outside. Like I don't know. Like they must have really good weather in Paldea. Yeah, I actually enjoyed the story myself toward the end, but they done us dirty with the technicalities. They sure did. Yeah, that game was a fucking mess. Game was a fucking mess. They should be embarrassed. I know they're not because they're Game Freak. But I would like y'all shat yourself in public with that game. Like, please clean yourself up next time. Again, well, all the more tragic because it's genuinely the battling is enjoyable when it works. Like,
Yeah.
Logan's Run is even before our time. So yeah, you say that, but like I remember being a kid, like my dad used to watch all those fucking old movies.
I want to. It looks like a cool movie. I'll give it a
You
watch if I
definitely got to
can.
check out Logan's Run. It's dated, but it's cool. For
Yeah.
sure. Um, yeah, definitely. Then Xenoblade is emotional magic at its finest. I could talk about it for ages. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna do that definitely.
Definitely agree with that. I gotta chat with you, Upper Nimbus, sometime about Xenoblade. We gotta figure that out. Maybe a Conduit Cast episode or EXP
Yeah,
podcast. We'll
that'd be
figure it
cool.
out.
Hell
It'll be
yeah,
fun.
I'd be up for that. Fuck yeah. Um, Great Wall says I had left the gaming world while I was at. It's not wanting to load up. What's going on? Okay, there it is. I had left the gaming world while I was at college back in the day, so I took like a 10-year break from college to working. I got back into gaming right before the pandemic hit. Okay, yeah, I think we all have our little walkaway period. So mine was basically between the about midway through the N64 all the way through until the Wii, and then from the end of the Wii until the Switch. And I thought I was out. I thought I was out. So after the Wii U, I'm like, okay, gaming just really doesn't have anything for me anymore. And just
Yeah,
when I thought I was out,
your dreaded GameCube era. I remember you were talking to Andy B about that the other day.
oh god, every single fucking game, every single one. Like, hey, how can we do a ghastly Buffalo Bill reskinning of this venerated franchise? Like, yeah, every single one. And again, I'm starting to develop a little bit more of an appreciation for the GameCube. I am, but man, old habits die never, man. Because I still can't look at Bongo Kong or fucking Window Washer Mario without chuckling to myself. I just can't. Whether they're good games or
Yeah.
not, that's not what fucking people wanted. It's not what they wanted.
Yeah.
People did not want that.
I just think I think the lineup for games on GameCube felt more complete than on N64 because I've always had this like kind of rose tinted glasses appreciation for N64. That's partly because two of my favorite games of all time are on N64. But I don't know if you saw this one tweet I made recently where I was like, I feel like once this year ends, the PS1 might overtake N64 as one of my favorite consoles. And that's crazy because I was never into PS1. But the past couple years I've been playing games like I played Metal Gear Solid, I played Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 9. I'll be playing Xenogears and like a lot of these PS1 games, I'm kind of getting into the vibe of what like the
Well,
PS1 was like,
yeah,
and
given your
that's
gaming
kind of like
taste, yeah, PS1 is going to be hard to top for because
yeah.
you like
But
JRPGs.
GameCube felt like it had that robust lineup with like Mario, Zelda,
It
Metroid,
it
a whole
did
bunch of other stuff, and then
it
of
did
course
and
like
it
even
didn't.
third party stuff. It was pretty prolific too.
Yeah, it did and it didn't because yeah, it had a
Yeah.
Mario game, but what the fuck is this? It had a Kirby game, but what the fuck is this? It had two Donkey Kong games, but what the fuck is this? It had a Star Fox game. What the fuck is this? Like over and over and over again. Every game I looked at.
And, and then you had Resident Evil 4 only on the Nintendo GameCube, and then
For now,
now we know it,
yeah,
it was it's literally on everything
yeah.
now.
Well, what happened
But
is Capcom released it on the GameCube, and then saw the DVD player pop it off and seeing nobody buying Resident Evil 4 and be like, God damn, nobody has this fucking system. If we want this to
yeah,
sell, we got to get it on the actual system that's fucking selling. That's what happened.
yeah,
Um, I'm sure they intended that. I'm sure that was an intended deal, but nobody foresaw the GameCube tank except me. Once again, um,
yeah.
I looked at
I
that.
just
I'm like,
think
what a
versus
turd,
the
man.
N64, that lineup on GameCube had more like a little more oomph to it.
It had the
But
Nintendo names, but yeah, but they didn't act as I. But you keep in mind, I'm biased in this regard. I don't think the N64 acted like Nintendo very much either, like the Nintendo IP proper. And here I am, like a fucking crazy person. Just imagine this, like you. You've got 2D Mario and OG Zelda, two games that just sell tens of millions of copies. And I feel like this fucking crazy person just screaming, all I want from you assholes is a 2D Mario and a traditional Zelda game. That's all I
yeah,
fucking want. That's all any of us want, and you can't fucking be bothered to do it. So you know what? Burn in hell, man. I don't care. I'll go take a break, and when you decide to find yourself and come back, I'll be there.
yeah,
And by the way, that's the two games that did it. It was New Super Mario Brothers Wii on the Wii. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in, and then it was Breath of the Wild
yeah,
on the Switch. Just when
yep,
all I asked for is a traditional fucking 2D Mario game and a traditional OG Zelda game. That's all I asked for.
yep.
If you give me that, you'll get there's 448 pieces of hardware more you'll sell on top of that. I'm that kind of customer if you treat me right. And they did it, and it's no secret to me that that's when Nintendo's fortunes have rode highest. Um, and now that's my other worry is we're gonna get back to weird Nintendo. Like they made their money, and now it's time to like fucking despoil the money and fucking squander the money until they get in a pinch again. And then so
Mm.
that's kind of my worry. And looking at Wonder and looking at Tears of the Kingdom, it feels like we're kind of back on that track again. Like it's like
Speaking of Wonder, I've been playing Wonder a little bit here and
what do you
there
think?
because my friend let me borrow it. It's interesting. It's
That's a good word. That's a good word to use. Yeah.
it's at first I was like, oh, it's just your
I
average
don't
2D
hate it.
Mario, it's
I
just
don't
whatever.
hate it.
And then like the Wonder stuff started to get fun. But I'll say this, here's what I actually enjoy the most about the game, and it's very weird. I love the bite-sized mini courses where it's like, oh, do this
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
Those challenge courses are probably the most fun. And then I remember like actually I yesterday, since I had some time, I went back to our older Liquored Up Live discussion and
Okay.
listened back to it just to refresh on what we talked about. And you were saying that the Wonder Flower stuff starts to get a little bit repetitive. I sort of feel that in some ways
Yeah, they definitely
because
recycled them.
I feel like some things get recycled. I feel like some things just aren't as good as some others. Like I remember there was one like I think the best Wonderflower segment is when I turned into a Goomba and it became like a stealth segment. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
But
no,
then
that
there
was
was
cool.
one
But there's one that's like a fucking pop quiz. Like, what the fuck?
yeah, it, there was one where I just became like this enemy and I was able to jump high and I was like I that was sure, that was alright. It was kinda weird. The one where it went top down was very cool. Like, some of them are cool, some of them are okay, some of them are, like, did this even need to be a Wonder segment? Because some of them are like, oh, you just get like invincibility stars are like falling from the sky, and you can just like run up against everyone
Right,
and
and the
get
Wonder
infinite.
Flower gimmick isn't like my main problem with it. My main problem with it is it's way too fucking goddamn easy. And then you pair
Yeah.
that with the fact the game is just a cakewalk. It's just a cake.
Also,
Well,
I
what
remember
about the challenge world? Yeah, I don't care about that. I don't want to wait all the way till the end of the fucking new game plus to actually have some difficulty, guys.
that's
It's
why I
so
like
fucking
those
hard to have a
bite-sized
difficulty
mini
curve.
courses. Some of those bite-sized mini courses have like really difficult challenges. Like there's one which was like the jump, jump, jump one, where you
Oh
had to like
yeah,
time your
ooh
jump.
yeah.
That was very difficult. I was stuck on that for hours, so that was good.
Both of those are
Yeah,
challenging. Yes.
yeah,
That was kind of
and
cool. And they're out there. Like the last world's okay. But again, I just point to the simple video. It's like here's a bullet bill in Super Mario World. Here's a bullet bill in Super Mario Wonder, and you spot the difference. And the difference is about
yeah,
one goes
yeah.
10 miles an hour and the other goes 70 miles an hour. Like you're never in danger of being killed by a cannonball or a bullet bill ever in Mario
I
Wonder.
think what they should do is, I think for the next 2D Mario game, or for the next Mario game in general, they I don't think they should bring back any returning enemies. I think every single one of the enemies, even in Zelda, I think for the next Zelda game, they should just have an entirely new enemy lineup,
Yeah,
because they always feel like, oh, let's stick to the Goombas and Koopas, and like you can
yeah.
see a lot of new enemies in Wonder, and that's good. But like,
Well, look at Mario 2 and Mario 3. Just look at Mario Brothers 2. Look at even Mario World. Like there's so many more. Like it's about 50%. And then Wonder had plenty of new enemies. It did, but yeah, they need difficulty. They need more enemy variety. I like what they did with the Flower Kingdom. I still love the Flower Kingdom. I love how Bowser feels like he's on the attack again. The last
yeah,
boss fight with Bowser was pretty cool. It could have been
yeah,
harder, but
it's a cool new area, and that's what's nice and refreshing
yes,
about it. It doesn't feel like a Mushroom Kingdom New Super Mario Bros. Game,
it
and that's
doesn't
good.
feel like Grass World, Fire World, Frost World, Desert.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
has some of that, but it's unique enough to where they actually make it work. And the music in that fucking game slaps. God, it's so good.
yeah. The music is pretty good.
Music is it's really good at 2D because 2D Mario music is so underrated. There's so many earworms in 2D Mario music. Like so that alone that I didn't have to hear ba ba except that first fucking
Oh, New Super Mario Bros. Music is nostalgic to me,
ba
but it
ba.
gets old. It gets old.
Yeah, just kill me. Like actually when I first saw the trailer and I heard the ba 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 ba, I'm like, oh no, and it's like, but it wasn't the whole game. It was literally just that level. Like,
Hmm.
oh, so yeah. But long story short, I like Wonder. It's still I feel like it's a step in the right direction, but I understand why its sales shriveled up and fucking died. For sure.
Hmm.
Compared to what a 2D Mario should do. Like, wow, still not even 13 million yet. And it's like, damn. Like at this point, I think Super Mario Wii Deluxe is going to. I don't think it's going to pass Deluxe, and if that's the case, that's that's pretty fucking rough. But we'll see. We'll see how it does. But it's at least it's proof that Nintendo hasn't given up on the 2D Mario trajectory. It just need to iron
Yeah.
out and treat it with the respect. Here's what I've always said about the 2D games versus the 3D games. Why don't you treat 2D Mario with the same fucking respect that you put on 3D Mario? Treat it
Hmm.
like a Mario Odyssey. And to people who say, "Well, yeah, but why would they do that with the 3D game?" Because if you did that, it would absolutely sell as much, if not more, than the 3D game. That's why. Stop treating 2D Mario like it's like ghetto Mario. Like stop putting it in the 2D ghetto, and let's put 2D Mario. Let's put the respect on 2D Mario that it deserves. Give it the same whistles, give it the same care as you give the 3D Mario games, and let's see what happens. And I promise you, it would sell at least as much. It would probably outsell them. Because look at Odyssey. Odyssey's not fucking hurting for sales. Odyssey's like 27 million, man. And it deserves it. It's a genuinely good 3D Mario game. Fuck, I enjoyed that one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even fucking like 3D Mario. I like that one. So I would just love to see 2D Mario get the actual budgetary. It's clear that Miyamoto favors his precious fucking 3D Mario. It's clear. I've come to terms with that. You know, it's okay. But just once, just one more time for old time's sake, I'd like to see him do it.
Yep.
That's what I'm
We'll
saying.
see. We'll see how it goes. We'll
Yeah.
see what they plan on the next console.
Oh,
If
it's
it's
gonna
gonna be
be
Mario Wonder 2 or
it'll be a 3D.
what.
Well, they're gonna launch with a 3D Mario, and usually I would
Yeah,
like.
they'll launch with the 3D,
Yeah.
but I want to see what
Oh,
they
they'll
do
get another
after
2D.
that. Like,
Yeah, they'll definitely
yeah.
get another 2D because 13 million. I mean, I sneeze at that because only because it's a fucking 2D Mario game, but that's really good sales too. So
It's good. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm sure we'll get another 2D Mario. I know we're getting another 3D Mario. Like fuck, that game cannot sell for years, and they'll still make a fucking 3D Mario because it's what Miyamoto wants to
Mm,
fucking make. Well, not that this is
yep.
even Miyamoto at this point, because have you noticed Miyamoto's pretty much been fucking hands off the whole Switch generation? And
Oh yeah.
he's made no secret that the system doesn't fucking interest him, and that's fine. You know, my message to Miyamoto is that's fine. Go do theme parks, go do other weird shit. That's fine. We don't need you if all you're gonna do is stick your nose in and make games worse, which is what you've been doing for 2 generations. We don't fucking
the,
need you, buddy.
the last time I remember Miyamoto being a part of like a lot of marketing and hype cycle for games was Breath of the Wild,
Yeah,
and that was mostly from like the Wii U side. And
yeah,
they
and
were like, "Oh,
that
this
was
is
Anuma and the other guy. I forget his name, but
yeah."
that wasn't
And
even Miyamoto.
a lot of Breath of the Wild having Miyamoto like in front of it was because like Miyamoto is like the Zelda guy. He started Zelda. They wanted like, oh, Mr. Miyamoto likes Breath of the Wild. Look what he thinks about it. Like uh, Miyamoto probably didn't have much of a role to play in the development of the game. And like as you can
Almost none.
see,
Yeah, almost none. It
you
was
can see with Tears of the Kingdom, like he had zero involvement in it. It was all Aonuma and Fujibayashi.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's all them doing
So
it.
go and again, it's because if the hardware doesn't interest Miyamoto, then he's not there. He's just not. Um,
Yeah.
and the Switch doesn't interest him. You can tell he's bored by it, and that's fine. You know, I'm good with it. I'm good with it, big guy. You go do your theme parks, you go do your movies, and just leave the actual devs the fuck alone for once.
Oh, Vengeful Magus says in the chat, and also hello to Vengeful Magus. Hello, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Um, he did say that Miyamoto made sure we got Pikmin 4, and that is true.
I will
That
give
was
him that. Yes, Magus. I'm
Miyamoto's
glad
like,
you bring that up. And here's the thing: if you had told me we needed a Pikmin 4 even 2 years ago, I would have said bullshit. Okay, and the reason for that is that's another one of these vanity series, is what I would have told you 2 years ago, that only exists because Shigeru Miyamoto wants it to. It doesn't sell. It's never fucking sold. Why do we continue to waste Nintendo EAD on this fucking vanity series? And then Pikmin 4 happened, and it was my favorite game of 2023. I don't know what
yeah,
else to say about it.
kind of blew you away, yeah.
It
And then
literally did.
it's sold more than both of the most
Uh
recent
huh.
modern Final Fantasy games. That's crazy.
There is absolutely nothing I can say about Pikmin anymore except make more of it. That's how much of a success Pikmin 4 was. It made a
Mm,
believer out of me. If I played Pikmin 4, and I'm like, okay, I get Pikmin now. Now
cool.
I get Pikmin. That's how good that
I've
game
never
was.
been much of a Pikmin fan, but a few of my friends have been trying to get me into it, so I'll consider it maybe one
Well,
day. I'll
and that's
see.
the thing. Like, that's a hell of a convert because not only was I not a Pikmin fan, I was hostile to it because I'm like, I don't understand. Because why the fuck do you make this game? Because Miyamoto likes it and a blue puppet likes it. Is that the only fucking reason that this game exists? Nobody buys this
Yeah,
game. If you're
yeah,
gonna make it, why is EAD one on this? Why? And question answered. Question answered with a bullet. Good job.
yep.
I
Also,
yeah.
no, I was just gonna talk about something that Vengeful Magus said in the comments. He said, "I'm glad Nishquik is delving into so many retro and PS1 games on Steam Deck. Can't wait for that Xenogears playthrough." Yeah, I'm very, very, very excited for Gears. But there's another game that's on my radar, and I'm very excited to play on PS1, and that's Chrono Cross. And like I've already like accepted the fact that Chrono Cross is very, very disconnected from
It
Trigger
is.
in terms of like design, even story, and like a lot of that stuff. It's very different from Trigger, but the game still really interests me. I love the art style. I love how it looks. Everyone is like, even like Brandon from Just the Gems has been saying that like this is Yasunori Mitsuda's best work, and that alone, that one like thing alone, saying that it's Yasunori Mitsuda's best work is like I would definitely want to play the game just because of that.
It's my favorite soundtrack in all of gaming, bar none.
God, that's so exciting because like a major reason why I play video games is for the soundtrack. Like that is such
Yeah,
an
that's pretty common. Yeah, that's
yeah, like, and of course, like I discovered Mitsuda through the Xenoblade series, but then I went back to Chrono
yeah.
Trigger,
No, it's not as
listened to
good.
the soundtrack there. I'm going to play Gears and experience his soundtrack
Yeah, no,
there. And
it's Xenoblade Cross. Yeah, or not Xenoblade, but it's Chrono Cross. It is absolutely his best work. It takes you to another fucking world, literally.
you know, I liken my favorite composers to like different kinds of like emotions and even different kind of like musical groups. So like Mitsuda is like all about emotion. Like Mitsuda's music is very emotional, very emotionally charged. And then Shimomura's music is just very like symphonic and melodic, still very emotional, but like it's just got
Yeah.
that like very nostalgic feeling.
When we get
But
off
then
here, we're gonna have a listening party to a couple of Chrono Cross tracks.
okay,
I've got
okay.
to show you. Yeah, when we get off of here, because chat can't hear it. I've
Don't
tried to.
show me the best ones because
I won't.
I
No,
don't
no.
want
I'm
to.
just gonna show you
Yeah,
two themes. Just two themes. Not even the
yeah.
best. Just the two things you're gonna hear constantly anyway. I'm gonna show you the two overworld themes,
Okay.
and I'll just leave
I'll
it at that.
say
I'll just leave it there.
another thing about music is I've been getting more into Nobuo Uematsu's scores and a lot of his music in Final Fantasy, of course.
Uematsu's a
And I always
genius.
knew Uematsu as like the Final Fantasy guy. Like he just makes like the good Final Fantasy tunes, iconic tunes. I didn't realize what set him apart from all the others. I thought he was just like one of like the most recognizable guys. Turns out Uematsu is an instrumentation expert. He knows how to like really make songs distinct with the use of like different instruments and different sounds and different acoustics. But the coolest thing that I've figured out about Uematsu is one of his like direct like references that you can hear in the music itself is like 70s rock. You can hear it in Final Fantasy
Oh yeah,
7, you can hear it in Final Fantasy 9. Like I don't know if you I don't remember. Have you played Nine Zoo?
not yet, but it's on my list, and
Okay.
you got me really pumped about nine.
Okay.
Honestly.
There is I won't say what battle it is, but there's a battle near the end of the game and the battle music starts before the battle. Like there's some dialogue and then the battle starts. I had to like put my controller down during that dialogue portion and just listen to that music full from beginning to end because I was like, dude, this is every single 70s rock band that I remember. This is Rush, this is ELP, this is Yes, this is King Crimson in one Final Fantasy song. I was just blown away. I was
All of Iraqi's favorite bands.
yeah, I
Um,
was it
yeah,
was crazy.
Nobuo Matsu literally took us through the entire goddamn Divine Comedy. In one
Yeah.
boss battle, like it can't be overstated how good that fucking guy is.
Yeah,
Like literally, the Battle of Kefka, literally, like is the Divine
Dancing Mad.
Dancing Mad is literally a trip through the Divine Comedy. That entire boss, that's what that whole boss battle is. And
Yep.
actually, my good friend, the Well Read Mage, has some content on his channel,
Mm.
The Pixels, where they actually break down the
Ooh,
literary elements of Final Fantasy VI. It's a major project.
that's cool. Yes, I actually just actually heard about that. I don't know
The
if you know
Pixels
who
is
Eric Ladd
amazing.
is. Eric Ladd is like one of my new favorite like Final Fantasy and JRPG content creators. I
Okay.
highly recommend his channel to
Yeah, I'll
anyone
take
watching, by the way.
Eric Ladd. His name is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll check him
I'll
out.
send him his stuff later, but he has a new podcast called Turn Based where
Okay.
he like interviews other content creators and game devs and stuff. He interviewed Well Read Mage and he talked about the Divine Comedy and Final
Hmm.
Fantasy VI and how each character in that game is like like
Uh huh.
kind of representative of like Dante's Inferno and Dante's
Yes.
Divine Comedy, and so yeah.
Yeah. No, I talk with Mage too. He's pretty good. So yeah, sounds like yeah. I'll check Eric out. Maybe we can get Eric on the show. That'd be cool. Um,
Yeah, he would love to chat. He's a really cool guy.
Sweet.
I love his
Awesome.
stuff.
Yeah, definitely check him out for sure.
Yeah,
I heard about Xenoblade from OJ, and now it's one of my favorite gaming franchises. Yeah, OJ's really on fire
yeah. A
for the
lot of
Xenoblade
people
trilogy.
got into Xenoblade through OJ, and
Yep.
I'm very glad that he's spreading the word because I remember when 3 came out, Nintendo did something I never thought they would do. They did like this segment where they did like a marketing like advert with some like content creators, and OJ was part of it. I was like, oh, nice that OJ got
Oh,
to be
that
a
was
part of
cool.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Well, yeah, just legitimate enthusiastic fan of the series, and yeah, like OJ preaching the good word. Oh yeah,
You should see OJ's reaction to the announcement of Xenoblade 3.
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it.
It's great. Like
Yeah,
my reaction was also great, but like OJ like almost fell out of his chair and everything. I was like, that's great.
nobody was expecting it. That's the thing. Like I remember that. I remember
No,
where I was on that moment. I'm like, what? What?
I I was kind of like expecting it. Like Vengeful Magus might remember this because he followed me on Twitter all the way back then.
Right.
But I was like when that direct was announced, I was like, Xenoblade 3 has to be here. It needs to be here. I want it to be here, and it needs to be here. And then I got it. I was like, oh, this is the greatest. This is the greatest thing ever.
Rex Dogs.
Yeah.
He says, "You guys wanting to make me play more Xenoblade? Just have to find a few spare 100 hours." Yeah. Now you know my dilemma, man. Like, that's the thing. Like half my fucking library is JRPGs. Like, and then on top of that, I've got the Morrowind monkey on my back constantly. Although I've thrown it off for now. I'm all Morrowinded out, so I'm back to get into other
Mhm.
games again. So that's exciting. The Upper Nimbus says yes. And oh God, yes, please. I was literally thinking that earlier. What was that about now? Again, we're getting caught up on the chat. So, oh, the Xenoblade probably. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. 918. I followed right after Rush. So. Hey guys, I love walking in during a chill Xenoblade discussion. Yeah, what's going on, Vengeful?
Yep.
Um, yeah, Xenoblade is one of those things, and it's probably my favorite JRPG modern series, and I'm so glad that we fought for it during Operation Rainfall. So glad we fought for it.
I I I think back to those like I wasn't a fan back then, obviously. I was very young and
They didn't want to do it.
I
Yeah.
remember Operation Rainfall. I remember like I was like, I don't know, like how old was I? I was like 12,
Holy
13
shit,
or
you're
something.
a youngin'.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was very young. I remember seeing that. I was like, why do people like I didn't understand it. I was like, oh, why are these games not coming? Why do people want them so badly? What's the whole reason? And I just remember the names Xenoblade Chronicles, The Last Story, and Pandora's
Uh
Tower.
huh.
Those names stuck with me. And then Shulk was announced in Smash, and I was like, hey, that's the dude from Xenoblade, the Operation Rainfall guy. And then like as like once definitive edition came out on the Switch, then I like got the whole history lesson, the whole like thing. I was like, oh, so this is what all happened, and it all made sense after that.
Yeah, we defied a god.
Yeah, and that god was Reggie Fils-Aimé.
Yes, fucking Reggie. Like again, I too have a bittersweet love of Reggie. Like I think he's a great hype man, but at the same time, God, he 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 helped red light so many games I wanted to see, including Mother. Like we're never gonna get Mother 3 because of Red, in part because of Reggie. Yeah, but
Yeah, and
no,
then he makes jokes about it, and we're like, ah, Reggie, come on.
yeah, no, he makes jokes about it. I just want to like fucking like shin kick the guy. when he does that. Like, just lightly. I don't want to hurt him because he's the originator, but at the same time, it's like, here, like, stop that.
Um,
Stop hurting gaming, please. Like,
yeah.
you've done so much good for gaming. Stop hurting gaming by depriving us of Mother. Now, at the same time, it's not just Reggie. There's no point in ever having a fucking Mother game without Shigesaki Itoi. There's just not. And and he's one of the busiest men in Japan. Like, that guy is like a literal like Renaissance man. Like, he makes
Mm,
calendars, he makes motivational calendars, and he writes books, and he's one of the Iron Chef judges, and like, the guy does everything. So I don't know. You'd have to get him on board to get a genuine Mother 4. Honestly, I would literally just settle. Like, Nintendo again. I'm going to say this every podcast now till it happens. Mother 3
mm,
for the Switch physically. I don't give a fuck if it's just a release, just a ROM dump on a fucking Switch card, or if you want to remake it entirely. I don't give a fuck. Put that on a cart in some way, and you will make my lifetime. Like,
yeah.
I'll never shit talk you again, Nintendo. That's not true, but
I
I will try not to.
Do you think they'd have to make a lot of changes to the content of the game? Because
They
a
should.
few of my friends have played it recently, and they're like, it would be a little tough for a game like this to release.
That game will fucking break you. iPatch Wolf has a video about how Mother 3 breaks you.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
if you've not played it and are planning on playing it, I would say not to watch the video because it
Oh
spoils
yeah, yeah.
everything. But oh my god. To give you an idea of Mother 3, Nish, the main marketing was just a woman crying and talking about the game.
Yeah.
It's just some random Japanese woman who's like talking about how the game made her cry and needing more tissues and shit. That literally, they put a camera in this woman's face and just said, "Hey, can you tell us about Mother 3?" And she just started crying and talking. Very apt marketing, very weird
Yeah.
marketing. The only kind of marketing that can only come out of Italy. But yeah, it very fitting.
One of my friends was talking about his experience with the game, and he was saying how emotional it made
It's
him
tough.
feel, and
Yeah, it's tough.
yeah,
It's got some tough moments in it.
yeah,
But yeah, they shouldn't change anything, and they should just dump it on a fucking Switch card. Honestly,
okay,
I wouldn't remake shit. I would just present
mm,
the game as is, and I can
all
promise
right,
you, Shigesaki Itoi probably wouldn't let him because
mm,
he maintains like half that copyright, so that's shared. That's a shared venture with Itoi and Nintendo. The
makes
other thing
sense.
is there's probably a music licensing nightmare there because a lot of the music is paired from like actual classic songs.
Ah,
So
yeah.
there's a lot to it. That
You know, I really want to play like Earthbound, especially because I've heard a lot of I think you might know this. I'm a huge Beatles fan. And a lot of people say that like the music in those games is heavily Beatles inspired, and that really makes me want to play the games.
oh yeah, no, yeah, Earthbound is absolutely, yeah. You could literally for example, Good Morning when you wake up, like the
Mm.
Good morning.
Uh,
Yeah, that actually, yeah, that motif works its way into like the wake up music. Yeah, just as one
oh,
example.
cool.
Yeah, Itoi is
It feels like a very Sergeant Pepper Magical Mystery Tour game.
it kind of is. Yeah, it is. It's got some darker elements too, but yeah, it's Magic Mystery is a good way to put it. So then Upper
Cool.
Nimbus, everybody kind of wishing each other well. Not bad, just enjoying one awesome stream. Oh, well, thank you. We
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Zoo, I'll be right back. Just give me 1 sec.
No,
You can go through the chat. I'll be right
no,
back.
you're good. Yep. Vengeful says, same. It sounds like a pretty good time. I'm glad Nishquik is diving into so many retro and PS1 games on his Steam Deck. Can't wait for that Xenogears playthrough. Yeah, now with Xenogears, the only thing I remember from Xenogears, I know there's giant robots, and then there's also a guy that says smash and crash. Or maybe that's a different game, but I'm thinking that's Xenoblade. But I remember liking that a lot. Like when I heard that. That was back in the day when that game had just come out. People would, like, I'd watch my buddy play it, and guy would be like, crash, smash. It's kind of the main thing I remember about Xenoblade, and it's got giant robots. Because how could you not, right? And then Upper Nimbus says, "Yep, that's going to be amazing." And then the Great Wall. I just like 3D Mario way better than 2D Mario at this point. Well, I'll tell you that the 3D Mario Odyssey, is of the two games. I feel like it's the better game on this particular generation. And I like 2D Mario better than 3D Mario, but I'm gonna call a spade, and I think Mario Odyssey is a fucking masterpiece. It's really hard to deny that, for sure. Um, I do prefer 3D Mario as well, but 2D is
Or I
also
am
tons of
back.
fun too. Yeah, I was just telling Great Wall because he said I just like 3D Mario better than 2D, and I'm like, well, in this particular generation, that's hard to argue with because Mario Odyssey is a straight up masterpiece. It just is.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that game was really good. It
I
kind of
had
reinvigorated my
I had so much fun.
like love for Mario. Like I'm like I still say this to this day. I'm not like the biggest Mario fan. Like when
Sure,
it comes to Nintendo franchises, it's like Zelda, Xenoblade, Fire Emblem, Metroid for me, and then like Mario and some other stuff after
right?
that. But like Mario Odyssey, like there was a time like it obviously like the most iconic part of that game was like the New Donk City, that whole like Mario celebration jump up superstar. When that happened, I
That
was
was
just
so
like,
cool.
yeah, I was like reminded of everything that I loved about Mario. And like my first time playing a Mario game was on funnily enough, it was on the GBA. Um One of my friends back in elementary school showed me Super Mario World on the GBA. That was my first like legitimate Mario game. And I was like, dang, this game is so cool. Like, I want to play a game like this. And then from the video rental store, I found New Super Mario Bros. And I was like, whoa, this game is like a super advanced version of that game that I played on the GBA. And love New Super Mario Bros. After that. And then I love the Wii version. Like the Wii version was so much fun because I would play it with my friends and
Yes,
we'd do couch co-op together and it was so much fun. And then after that it kind of got stale. But then around that time when I was not playing the 2D Mario games, I went back to like Mario 3, the original Super Mario World, and then I played like 64 and then of course like Galaxy and Galaxy 2 when they came out. I played those
yeah,
on
it
the
took
Wii.
you it took you back to my era, which is Mario 3, Mario World, still peak Mario to me. Always will be.
Yeah.
Always fucking will be
Back
peak
when
Mario.
I was a little older, like in like middle school time, I would look up a lot of these like old retro Nintendo games and be like, "Oh dang, this is what like all the people back in the day used to play. Oh my god, that's so cool." And like now looking back at it, that span of time of when I was watching those videos back to when those games were prevalent is like now back, I don't know, like you could even say like the late GameCube, early Wii time, which makes me feel like, wow, time really flies.
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
yeah, like I remember I was watching like Star Fox 64 and Mario 3 and Mario World and Ocarina of Time, and I was like, oh man, I need to play all these games on the Wii Virtual Console. And like thinking back to that like idealized like retro era, like the games are so much older now, and like you kind of like that span of time, that range of time is kind of like what the Wii is like now. The Wii kind of feels like that retro kind of console now to a lot of people, which is kind of crazy. I would never have thought of the Wii to be like retro,
Isn't that
but here we
wild?
are.
Yeah, it does feel that way now. It's like that's what I'm saying. Like the SNES and NES are like the fucking land before time for most people. I've said it before. I'll say it
Yeah.
again. Like especially with the gaming press, literally, like most of them, with few exceptions, are PlayStation babies. So like anything beyond that is like it's the land of the lost, man. Like
Mm.
yeah, the space that like some of the older gents like me and OJ occupy. And I think OJ is actually older than I am even, and like because he actually remembers like the arcade days and shit, like the like actually being there instead of just hearing about it from pops. Like yeah,
Yeah.
legitimately good stuff. And then He says, I agree. 2D Mario is still fun. Yeah, and 2D Mario, when done right, is nothing touches it. Absolutely nothing fucking touches it. Nothing. Mario 3 is easily top 10, if not top 5 of all time. Let's say, yeah, I'm more of a 3D Mario guy too, but Super Mario Brothers 1, 3, World and Wonder are definitely up there for me too. Yeah. Thank God the ba stuff is gone. It lasted too long. Ba. Get him, Vengeful. Get him. Yeah, get him. Yeah, we don't like that ba shit. Get out of here. And it is gone, which is great. Brooke Barnes says, hey, flipping the switch. Hey, what's going on, Brooke? Glad you made it in here. How's it going? Question. If I were to try to reorder Paper Mario the 1,000-Year Door again from Walmart on Thursday with Walmart coupon, do you think it would work? I'm not sure. It'd be worth a try. I actually got kind of fucking scrambled. I thought I had a package from Amazon, and I thought that was Mario the 1,000-Year Door. And turns out it was another fucking game. It was actually the diving game is what came. So I lose track of what I order. I'm like, oh shit, is that the 1,000-Year Door? Coolness. And like, nope, not yet. It was the diving game.
Oh yeah.
So I'm in the same boat as Brooke. I'm really anticipating that. But yeah, Walmart had some fucky stuff going on with their orders. I guess they canceled her pre-order niche, is what happened. So I would say, yeah, try it with the coupon. And if they cancel it again, like try Amazon, because that's who I've got mine ordered through, and I haven't heard a cancellation back yet.
You want to know a funny story about the diving game, which I'm assuming is Endless Ocean?
Yeah, the diving game. Yeah.
So me and one of my friends thought it was really funny that in the February Direct they saved Endless Ocean till the very end.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's why.
We got one more announcement, one more big announcement, and it was Endless Ocean, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's Endless Ocean! It's coming back! It's a Nintendo published game." So, with that kind of like quote unquote hype for Endless Ocean, we kind of like joke to ourselves like, oh my god, Nintendo's 2024 is so amazing, they could survive off of just Endless Ocean alone. Endless Ocean is gonna be like yeah, we just had this like inside joke about how Endless Ocean is gonna be the best game ever, and then it came out and it got like really bad.
Oh yeah, no, so my girlfriend was there when we did that game. We watched that together, and she laughed and said that I know you don't do face cam, but if you could do face cam, like just it would have been something just to show everybody your face and how it dropped after that announcement showed up. Because I went through so many fucking emotions during that direct. Like one is like, hey guys, Tears of the Kingdom and Wonder is just not this fucking strong, guys. It's just not. Like the sales truck, you need something in this slot. You need something here.
Hey, at least that Direct had SMT5 Vengeance.
It did have Vengeance. Again, I'm kind of torn on that. You had a really good point actually about that.
I was talking to one of my friends about it last night actually. Vengeance looks like an amazing game, but it just burns. Like it really kind of like
my ass
stings.
Too, brother. Yeah.
It stings. Like I spent 80 long hours like playing that game, grinding, leveling up, fusing, making the best like demons in the compendium, doing so much only to be like told, yeah, that experience was like it doesn't mean anything. This is like the actual game. And what makes it good, what makes it feel better is the fact that the new campaign in Vengeance seems to be significantly very different from vanilla, which is good. And I mean, a lot of Atlas fans are like,
by far the weakest part of that game for sure.
And a lot of Atlas fans are like, oh, this is how it feels. This is how it feels to be an Atlas fan. I'm like, yeah, I guess this is my first like yeah, this is my first experience with the Atlas Definitive Edition situation because the first time I played Persona 4 was Golden, first time I played 5 was Royal, first time I played 3 was Reload,
Well, and again, this is
And
me being a cranky old man, but just do what I do, Nish, and just learn from it. So when that happened, this is also my first experience getting burned by the Atlas, the Atlas definitive. So now do this. Be like, hey, cool. I will buy an Atlas game 5 years later. Period.
yeah, I just
5 years later. And that's what
I
I'm going to buy Vengeance. And that's the last fucking time that I'm going to buy a game within that launch window. Now, Rush Dog's going to tell you too that if you, and he's right, if you just wait 2 or 3 months, the game will be half off anyway.
I'm
Because it's Sega.
yeah. I'm definitely gonna get
I'm
Vengeance
gonna
on
get it,
sale.
but
Yeah,
that'll be the last time. It's the last fucking time, and I will keep my word on this. That'll be the last fucking time I buy anything within
yeah.
the launch window.
And like I said, it's not as bad with Vengeance because it's not like I'm replaying everything that I've done in SMT5 because it'll be a new experience with a new story.
Right, and
But
it's not like replaying that game. I've played it twice. So it's really good. It's really
yeah,
like
it's a good
it's
game.
the peak of JRPG like combat. It's the peak.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like
I just
it will kick the shit out of you.
I just hope for Persona 6 they they want to have extra content. I really hope they like the Persona 3 Reload situation is no better, but at least they're not like planning to do a re-release of Persona 3 Reload again. So I hope for Persona 6 if they want to do anything additional to the game, like if they want to just do an expansion pass instead of a re-release and a royal version. And
Yeah, and
I
we need
yeah.
Persona 6 though. We are all Persona 5 down, I think.
Yeah. I really think that we will hear about it late this year, early next year. Like I really think so.
Did you see the
Yeah.
sales of Persona Tactica?
Oh, I actually didn't see the sales of Persona 5 Tactica.
Exactly. That's the joke because they didn't show
Oh yeah. Well,
because it
they
did that
probably
fucking badly.
yeah yeah they flaunted their Persona 3 Reload sales, but Persona 5 Tactica was just whatever.
Yeah. Again, they did show us the sales of like the Persona 5 like Dynasty Warriors game. I forget what it's called. Persona Scramble like
Strikers.
Strikers. Okay. Yeah, they
I
showed
think Strikers did at least hit like a million
it did.
or a
Yeah,
million and a
it did.
half.
But yeah, Tactica.
I think being on the Switch really helped as well.
Yeah, Tactica turned into a pumpkin well before midnight, and I gotta take that as being like. And again, Persona 5 was great outside of Burgerland. Outside of Burgerland, it was great.
Oh yeah, that was
Um,
not a fun arc.
no, that whole thing was fucking so stupid. The whole fucking arc was stupid. Story wise, thematically, gameplay wise, the boss. That was a miserable fucking time. And it's one of the things like it's like, yeah, I like Persona 5, but no, Persona 5 is not fucking perfect. It's not.
Yeah,
It's not even
that's why I after playing Persona 3, I wouldn't say I prefer the story of 3,
okay.
but I think 3 had better pacing in its story, and I really appreciated that because 5 sometimes you kind of forget like what are we even supposed to be doing? Like what's the whole like point of all this? Like why are we like it didn't it had like overarching like narrative in the game, but I felt like 3 had like that connecting narrative a lot. I feel like it did that a lot better than 5.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Generally speaking, like, I'll again, this is coming from someone who genuinely enjoyed my time with 5. Like, it's really good. But part of it is I had already played a game called Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
Nocturne, I thought the story was better in Nocturne. I actually really appreciate the Nocturne story. A lot of people don't. And the gameplay is fucking godlike. And so I keep hearing about like how Persona 5 is kind of like a little brother, like a little bro to the SMT series. And so when I played that, it's like it suffers really bad from it from like peak Act 1 syndrome, if you know what I mean. And what I mean is like
Yeah.
there is no better fucking villain on the planet to me
Yeah.
than
It
Kamoshida.
peaks at the Kamoshida arc.
The gym teacher, that fucking nasty gym, that nasty ass gym teacher. That holy shit, I hated that guy. And I
Yeah.
kept saying to myself, how are they going to top this? And the answer is they didn't.
Yeah,
He
I
spent the
think
rest
I
of the
think the
game
sixth arc
just.
was very good with Sainijima. I think that arc was really good, but
That was
I
cool. Yeah, that was personal. And the
yeah.
Futaba arc actually was interesting because it was different.
Oh yeah, Futaba arc was really good.
Yeah,
I
Futaba arc was
really
really good.
enjoyed that actually.
But man, they really
Yeah.
front loaded their best villain. Like, and I get it because
Mm,
it was an acceleration up the ladder, but still, man, like, oh, Kamashita was such a scumbag. It
yeah.
was such a scumbag. Who was your favorite? Who was your favorite character in Persona 5? Because there was a lot of good characters.
In 5,
Yeah,
I liked the new Phantom Thief Kasumi. I really liked her because
she
they
was
give
fun,
you traces of her past throughout the main game,
and that twist
and
was
then
wild. Yeah,
yeah, the twist with her was very, very cool. I really liked that, and how it still felt like she was a very integral part in the story. And for me, it did because like I didn't feel like she was shoehorned because I didn't play the vanilla game. So she just felt like a very natural part in the game. And then when she had her arc in the like ending part in the third semester, that was done very well.
yeah.
I also like Futaba a lot because they've done that um kind of archetype of the, I think it's called the hikikomori, who it's like
Hikikomori, yeah.
kind of like the shut-in kind of archetype in Japanese culture. I think they did that very well with Futaba. And Futaba's arc sort of reminded me of what Persona 4 was like. I don't know if you played Persona 4, but
Not yet.
Persona 4's dungeons were very centered around the party members themselves.
Okay,
So the way Futaba's arc was done was very cool. I
kind
liked
of
that.
throwback to that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Overall, I like the Phantom Thieves a lot. I like the idea and the concept of the Phantom Thieves. I think I prefer C's, and the reason I prefer
Okay.
C's in Persona 3 is because they have a very strong involvement in the story. Every single one of them has a very direct involvement in the narrative of Persona 3, and they they go through like a lot of like emotional like trauma. They go through a lot of like things that they have to like really just suffer through.
Well, and that's
And
something you don't get a lot of. Like, poor Haru. Poor fucking Haru in fucking
yeah,
Persona
yeah.
5. Like,
Poor Haru and An and like you see a lot of that with these characters when you do
that's
their
true. Like, An just gets,
yeah,
like, kind of swept to the wayside. Like, fucking Ryuji becomes a joke. Like
yeah.
everybody,
And like
that's true. Like, everybody
in
kind
their
of makes
arc they
way.
shine. Like in the first arc, like you see the struggles that An goes through and like you really sympathize with her. But then later on she's just kind of like a fly on the wall and I'm like, "Oh, I wish you
Yeah,
still had more relevance to the story." And I really felt like Persona 3 did a very good job with that.
of integrating
Cuz
that. So yeah, it wasn't just a fucking Makoto show.
yeah, like uh, Junpei feels as relevant in the end as he did in the beginning. Yukari feels as relevant in the end as she did in the beginning. Like all these characters just maintain their relevance throughout the story.
See, and that's
And
fucking
yeah,
exciting, and that's what's cool. Is I've got 2 whole games to go through still. I've got 4 and 3. I got 3 portable and 4. And looking forward to them. Very much looking forward to them. And that's
yeah,
kind of what I hear from like Persona fans. Is like Persona 5 is like some steps forward in some ways and some step backs in others.
yeah.
And so
In
that's
terms of gameplay, it is s- a- a- like absolutely the best in the series. Maybe even better than Persona 3 Reload. Like Persona 3 Reload modernized a lot of the Persona 3 um, kind of battle systems and the gameplay
right.
systems, and it just made it a little more easier and a little more like um, kind of digestible for the modern day. But 5 just it just feels so fun and fluid to play.
Right.
I
Flows
really
like
miss it,
water.
and yeah, I think maybe I should continue my run on Steam. I have the game on Steam. I should continue it. It was a lot of fun because I completed it on PlayStation on the PS4 version, and then I got it again on Steam. So I should pick it up again and see what like continue it from there. See how I like it on a second time through. But
Right.
I don't usually replay games because I have a huge backlog.
Yeah,
Like,
and the games we're talking about are like over 120 hours.
yeah, I made an exception with Xenoblade 1 this year because I left that New Game Plus unfinished. So I had to go back and finish that New Game Plus of Xenoblade 1, and I'm glad I did. And I'm going to do it for 2 again because like I really, really want to replay 2 because it's Xenoblade 2. It's amazing.
It is. It is very good. And I'm sure one more
Yeah.
time before I kick the bucket, I'll play it. I'm sure. At least one
Yeah.
more time. So then we got at least Miyamoto made sure we got Pikmin 4. Yep, true. Pikmin 4 was amazing. Didn't they remake Chrono Cross for Switch? Sort of, yeah. That's the one I have.
Yeah, it's a remaster.
Yeah, and on
Though
PlayStation you can get it
initially
physically.
it was not a very good remaster, but they went back and fixed it.
See, and
At
that's
least they
my
fixed it,
worry.
but
Guess which version
yeah,
I get to play.
yeah. I wish it was good the first time around.
Yeah, me too. But again, the soundtrack will at least be good. Um, so let's see. Pikmin 4 is phenomenal, but so is Pikmin 1. Yeah, I'm actually gonna go give them a chance now that I've got bitten by the Pikmin bug. The 30-day time limit makes it a nice brisk playthrough. A 30-day time limit. Sorry, I read that wrong. The booze is kicking. Oh, by the
Yeah,
way, yeah, tonight I am drinking a Rolling Meadows Lincoln Lager Vintage. This company's not even fucking around anymore. So these are very precious. I cracked open a very precious beer for this. You drink
nice.
anything in particular?
I had a St. Arnold's beer earlier
St.
today.
Arnold's beer. Now, what's
Yeah,
that?
it's a local Houston brewery.
God, okay, I'll have to check it.
Yeah.
I love the locals, so
Yeah, St. Arnold's is probably my favorite because they just have a wide variety of beers, and I really like all of them. Also, their brewery here is really nice. Good food, good vibes, good
nice.
drinks. Yeah. If
Yeah,
you
if they got
ever
good beer, they probably got good food too. That's a general rule
yeah,
of thumb.
if you find any of their beers, my personal favorites are Lawnmower, H-Town Pills, and Amber Ale. Their art car is also very good, but it's like I enjoy IPAs, but that's a real IPA.
I like IPAs, so yeah, I could see myself liking that. Maybe
Yeah.
hopefully a lot of those breweries have like a variety pack. Maybe I'll just go with that if I'm able to find one.
Yes,
So
yeah, get the variety pack, you'll get everything. You'll
fuck
get the
yeah,
H-Town Pills, Lawnmower, Amber Ale, art car, you'll get it all.
sounds good. Chrono Trigger is a banger. Just don't expect Chrono Trigger 2. Yeah, definitely don't expect that because yeah, no. Oh, nice. There's a good remaster of Chrono Cross on all platforms. Well, there's a good remaster for you because you're not weird, vengeful. Like you'll actually download the patch. For me, I'm gonna have to suffer through some stutter and some shit when I do
Yeah,
it.
I have Chrono Cross Radical Dreamers on Steam, so I'll be playing
Yep,
it on Steam Deck.
nice. Um, Chrono Trigger is always going to be my favorite Mitsuda OST and Chrono game, but Chrono Cross is a great time too. There's definitely a super chill vibe for that OST. It's almost euphoric. Yeah, God, I love that song. It
Nice.
takes me to another
The only
world,
song
man.
I know is Scars of Time. That's the only song I know.
Which is like the opening.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I tried to go into Mitsuda games knowing as little of the OST as possible. Like Chrono Trigger, only knew I only knew did I even know any songs from? Yeah, I knew Frog's theme, I knew Robo's theme, and I knew the beginning of Quarters of Time. Every time a YouTube video would play Quarters of Time, I would like close the YouTube video because I was like, no, I don't want to hear it. I know that's like the coolest song ever. I don't want to hear it. And I would see it like on my Spotify and stuff. It would recommend it to me. I'm like, no, I can't listen to it. Hearing some of the songs from Chrono Trigger for the very first time playing through the game was just mind blowing. Also, I might have tweeted this on Twitter and stuff, but like I started learning a few of Mitsuda's songs on guitar, specifically a Wind Scene from Chrono Trigger. Like once I practice that some more, I might record it and post it. But like
fuck yes,
that
you
was cool. Like
absolutely should.
yeah, because like what's cool about video game music that I'm like kind of wrapping my head around is like how the musical theory kind of goes into a lot of this and how like the composers wrote it. So it's really cool how he did it with Wincene. So yeah,
Well, there's some
it's also
there's
bringing me
some
back
really
to my
cool
musical theater.
YouTubers
Like
too
yeah.
that,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that
There's a
do it.
lot of people who like really dissect that a lot.
Yeah,
But
I've
it's
seen
bringing
some
me
of them.
back to my music theory roots from when I used to learn piano and when I was in band and stuff. So that's cool.
Nice. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, especially with piano too. So piano also has like the added advantage of like, you know what you don't want to do is you never want to do any kind of grip strength exercises with somebody who does piano because they'll fucking destroy you. Like
Yeah.
absolutely. Like, oh yeah, yeah. If you're in a piano, like yeah, grip strength is incredible on that. So there's also added benefits to other things too.
Oh yeah.
Eric Ladd is a good man, one of my buddies actually. Okay, so that's two of my friends that are promoting this Eric Ladd guy. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah.
I'm definitely gonna
Nimbus
reach
has
out.
been on a few of his videos actually, I think.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely be reaching out to Eric Ladd. Then I'll see if he wants to come on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
John
no problem.
Chicken Phillips knows him too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chicken's awesome. Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah,
I
Chicken
mean,
Phillips is cool.
I want to get him on. It's just that we got a big time zone difference, and so we're trying to work that out. But definitely want to get Chicken on too.
Yep.
Like, yeah, John's good people. Plus the Chrono Cross OST is 100% Mitsuda, whereas the Trigger Uematsu was heavily involved, and they wanted a Final Fantasy vibe for the Dream Team crossover. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Yep,
oh
makes
god,
sense.
that was too. Yeah, that was a Dream Team. Fucking Toriyama, R.I.P.
Yeah.
Like for sure.
I remember Trigger was Mitsuda's first like entire OST that he did, and he had to bring Uematsu in to kind of like help support him because he was just kind of doing a lot of it on his own. And I like looking back through like the Trigger OST, you can see some songs that are credited to Uematsu. Like the Underground Sewer song is a Uematsu song. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then like going back, I realized it's Uematsu, and I was like, yeah, this definitely gives me Uematsu vibes.
Yeah, you can start to get like a feel for their like imprint on different musicians and
Yeah.
stuff too, for sure. Nishquik, you just got a new sub for me, so the Great Wall is now subbed.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the Great Wall is a great guy. Like he's good people. And Wall, if you ever want to come on the show too, like again, extending the invite, I think he'd be fun to talk to as well. Because again, a lot of people think it's just content creators. Like, no, I'll talk to anybody. I've talked to my friend V, who's not a content creator. I will literally talk to anybody. I don't care who you are. Like, I just like talking about video games, man. So I think he'd be good for that. Let's see, Mad Kaiser. How do you do, fellow gents? What's going on, Kaiser? Thanks for dropping in, man.
Yo, what's up, Mad Kaiser? How's it going?
We got Vengeful Magus. It was such a weird time. NOA was refusing to bring fully localized games from Europe here. I know. Yeah, it blew my fucking mind. But Nintendo's a weird company, and sometimes they do very weird things, and sometimes those weird
Mhm.
things even are to their detriment. But we set them straight. We set them straight. And also, I'll tell you what, a lot of people also forget that another casualty of that was region locking, by the way. So
Oh, yeah.
Operation Rainfall to thank for that. Yep, they don't region lock for the same reason now. That way, even if they can't be bothered to localize it, it doesn't matter because we can go get it from like Play Asia or some other thing if there's an English localization. So Kaiser, my man, everybody kind of greeting Kaiser as they come in here. Everybody playing nice in the chat. You'd love to see it. And then my first gaming console was Super Nintendo, so I love the 2D Mario games on that. Yeah, World is a fine 2D Mario game for sure. I'm fond of 3 the most, but I I
Mm.
you will never hear me shit talk Super Mario World. I'd love to have a discussion with you on which game is better. I think there's arguments, actually solid arguments for both. But for me, it comes down to the fact that I think the levels in Mario World were a little too long. Um, and that's pretty much it, because otherwise it's platforming perfection. I just think the levels went on a little bit too long, and I think that there are exploits with the lives and the Yoshi system that make it a very easy game
I
if
think
you use it.
3 had better power-ups as well,
3 had much
and
more varied power ups. Yeah, it felt like a
that
video
is
game.
one big negative about Wonder. I wish it had way more power-ups than it did.
Me too. I liked what was there. I did like what was there. The suits were really cool. The bubble suit was
Yeah.
really cool. The drill suit less so. It had a little bit less utility, but the bubble suit was fucking. That was cool.
Bubble was alright. I think I prefer Drill to Bubble, and then Elephant is fun. I
Yeah,
like playing around with the Elephant.
elephant is fun, but I confess it's like I'm trying to figure out what the fuck the elephant does that other things can't do, because like it's basically I don't know. It's like a
Yeah.
rat. It's like a fat version of the raccoon tail where you can't fly to the or the cape.
Yeah, the trunk stuff is fun, like using your trunk, watering things with the trunk. That was a little fun
Yeah,
nod as
that's true.
well.
Oh, the watering thing. There it is. You just got it. That was it.
Yeah, but in terms of movement and mobility, there's not much to it, honestly.
No. Although the on some of the dancing stages, the elephant pose where he's like got his back and he's like looking over his shoulder is fucking hilarious. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
we're in serious mode now. Um,
yeah.
so Great Wall said I had a Game Boy Color technically before the SNES though. Yeah, I got my start with an old NES and an old Game Boy, and then upgraded to the Color in order to play. I think it was Pokemon something. And fun fact, Dragon Quest 3 on the Game Boy was one of my first real dives into JRPGs. It was Dragon Warrior 3 for the Game Boy, which is stupid expensive now. Rush Dog says Odyssey was a huge system seller for Switch, especially for 2017. Remember that Mario Kart 8 and Breath of the Wild were also Wii U games. Odyssey was the first major true Switch exclusive. Yeah, for the most part. Although I think most people do view Breath of the Wild um, as a Switch game primarily. It's where most people bought it. It's where most people played it. But in terms of there's no lies detected in terms of saying the first major. Hey, this you will only find this on the Switch. It was Odyssey, and Odyssey did do banger sales that year for sure. And then I remember the '90s arcade scene. Me too. Yeah, and the mini renaissance that came from Street Fighter 2. That's my arcade experience too, Rush. My dad tells stories of like the old smoke field arcades with the Defender 2 cabinet in the corner and like fucking Space Invaders and fucking Donkey Kong. And like I hear those stories, but that's all like secondhand through osmosis. That's not anything I personally experienced. But,
Yeah.
but I did experience the Street Fighter 2 Renaissance. Yeah, we would go down
That's
there.
like me with the N64 PS1 era. Sometimes sometimes I wish I was born a little bit before so I could have
Yeah,
experienced that era for myself.
right. Yeah, that's kind of what it's like. Yeah, you kind of old man wish
Yeah.
that like you were a little bit older.
Yeah, I had that feeling in high school with like music because like back then I was like into a lot of like older music and I was like, oh man, I wish I was like born back in like the 80s or 90s when music was so much better. And then now that's like the same thing now but with games.
Uh,
Yeah.
then you got Dave the Diver. No, we were talking about Endless Ocean. Dave the Diver is the good diving game, from what I hear.
Yeah.
Although I haven't got the physical for it yet. I know I can go get it on PlayAsia. I'm kind of waiting to see if there's an English release. I'm just weird like that sometimes, but if not, I'll be grabbing Dave the Diver for sure. Um, yeah, Endless Ocean is arguably the worst One More Thing to ever close out a direct. Yes, agree. Actually agree. I was so angry at so many people declaring that for the for Nocturne when Nocturne got a remaster, and I'm like, you fucking Philistines have no idea, no appreciation for art or beauty, man. Like, fucking, that was a dream for me. I literally would joke saying like of my like dream long shot remasters that Nocturne was fucking one, Morrowind was another, Star Control 2, and we actually fucking got a not. Who would have thought we would get a fucking Nocturne on the Switch? Who would have thought that? Like, that was magic. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, yeah, Endless Ocean, absolutely the worst. Spot on. The same can be said for Metaphor Refantasio. Yeah, I'm mad at that game because it's not coming to my Switch. So they can kick rocks for now. But it looks good. It looks really good. It looks really good.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that. We'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, I can tell you though, should have they're gonna have some buyer. They're gonna have some regret. They're gonna wish they put that on the Switch when they see the sales, man. It looks like a very weird game, and it looks like it's something that would be tailor made for the Switch, and that everybody else is going to ignore. Why even fucking have it on Xbox? They're not going to buy
Yeah,
it. They're not going to buy it,
we'll
bro.
see. It's heavily rumored to come to the next Nintendo successor, so
Well, that
we'll
doesn't help
see.
me.
Yeah,
Although, if what I'm hearing is accurate, I'll probably end up with a Switch too. If it's
yeah,
fully backwards
we'll see.
compatible with the physical cards, I'll end up with it. But again, that's not going to help Metaphor Refantasio sales right away. But you enjoy that Xbox launch, Atlas. You tell me how that goes, okay? Like, they're not going to buy your fucking weird RPG game. They're not going to buy it. And just throwing that out there. Like, I'm glad. Hurts my fucking head to even think about why do you even bother? Why do JRPGs even bother to go to Xbox? Like, I don't mind it.
The
It's not
whole
my
like
fucking money I'm sinking
Atlas
fire.
Xbox situation was something I did not see coming at
Yeah,
all.
it's they
It
want to
just
they want to be weird and light their money on fire. That's their business, but
yeah,
ain't
the
nobody
whole
buying
yeah, the
that.
Game Pass stuff kind of concerns me, but what's nice and what kind of fills me with a little bit of hope is Persona 3 Reload still sold very well despite being on Game Pass.
Sold on the Xbox?
So,
Well,
no, sold like globally well on PlayStation, Steam,
yeah,
Xbox
I was gonna
altogether.
say, yeah, Xbox,
Yeah, it still
Xbox,
hit a million, which is still very good.
yeah, the Mountain Dew and Dorito eaters did not buy Persona 3
Yeah,
Reload.
literally the lowest player base is on Xbox. No one's playing
Well,
JRPGs on
what a shocker!
Xbox.
Yeah, what a shocker! What a shocker! The
Yeah,
Dorito
which is
eaters
hilarious because
did
like
not.
all the marketing has Xbox, all the marketing they're using the Xbox
What a waste of
controller, all
time!
that.
What a fucking
Like,
waste of time!
yeah, it's so
Like,
weird.
like, yeah, it's not called Call of Duty or Halo. Sorry, like, they don't care. They don't fucking care. They really don't. You think I'd learned from buying Atlas releases at or near launch as someone who bought their PS2 games, but I loved. Well, that's a different story though, Vengeful Magus, because like, I have a buddy who bought during the DVD player era with Atlas games, and you would get fucking burned if you didn't buy them right away because a lot of those were limited releases. That was before the Sega shit. And so if you didn't get them right away, you'd be paying $150 down the road. So that's kind of a hit or miss. Now that they're with Sega, absolutely, like, you're never gonna have a hard time finding an Atlas game anymore. But back then, it was a little bit more of a tough experience for sure. Um, he said, I love the SMT5, so I'll probably continue doing it. Lol. Yeah, Atlas used to be super limited release shit, like super duper, before the Sega partnership. At least that's my understanding. Again, I wasn't there, but I had a buddy Vince who was there, and he talks about that. Like, the game is going to be very awesome for sure, but it's a little bit worrisome to get this game day one when you probably know Atlas will do a re-release or expansion pass. Well, yeah, it's just that's everybody in the goddamn industry now. Look at, what is it? The new Assassin's Creed costs what, like $130 in order to get the actual game with their fucking content roadmap. Like, did you see that shit? Oh, missed it.
Yeah, yeah, it's weird because they like a whole the thing with Assassin's Creed is the controversy that I can get behind, I'll say, is that they didn't show the gameplay. They're already putting it up for pre-order, and I'm like, why would I pre-order a game I don't even know how it plays like?
Oh, you're not mad about black samurais and female ninjas. You're not
I'm not mad
you're
about
not
Yasuke and
mad.
the other I forgot what her, you know what's funny is I knew about like the Yasuke, like that like he was gonna be one of the protagonists. I didn't know that the second protagonist was a woman until today, which is really interesting. I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Know
it's
that.
it, it's now sparked a whole nother like anger, like fucking anger wave. Like, oh Jesus Christ, it's one
It's
of
a
those things.
nonsense.
So Nish, I've got a famous Japanese artist. I've got an authentic work. It's an authentic work of Edo era Japanese art, right? And it's,
Yeah.
it's literally it's a kuniyoshi. I have a legitimate original kuniyoshi hanging in my game room. And this is a picture. It's one of his 144 samurai um paintings that he did, right?
Mm.
I have one of them. And it is a and do you know who it is of?
Is it Yasuke?
It's not Yasuke, no. Sadly, no.
Who was it?
But it is of a female retainer
Oh.
to one of the samurai, and she is sitting there, and she has a sword.
Oh, nice, nice.
This is Ito.
Who's the one in Assassin's Creed? What's her name?
Well, that's a ninja, and she's fictional. But
Okay.
yeah, but yeah, but my point being is that the people who are talking about the Edo era Japan as if they know anything about it. Like I saw this one guy, he couldn't even pronounce Yasuke's name. He's like Yasuke, and he's like mad. He's like mad about a guy whose name he can't even pronounce.
Yeah. Do you know,
And
I forgot this creator's name. I've seen some of his videos. I think his name is, I don't even remember, but he basically like lives in Japan and he has a YouTube channel about Japanese culture,
mhm,
about like foreigners who want to live in Japan, people who want to
right,
travel and visit Japan, and just like Japanese history, culture, food, everything. And though, like I haven't been following the Assassin's Creed controversy that much, but
you're
the
gonna
one
listen
thing I
to it.
did see was someone like fact checking this guy with one of that YouTuber's clips of him talking about the history of Yasuke, who he is, his importance to Japanese culture and history, and he was like, "This man is real. He's real. He existed."
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah, like
Yeah,
it's one of those
I
things
think
where
it's cool that they're like doing that because like from my limited knowledge of Assassin's Creed, I remember there were like some like real people from fictional history who were in the games, probably not doing the exact same things that they used to when like they were still around, but like they take their creative liberty and all that. But like I think it's cool that they're including him in the game. We'll see how it goes.
well, no, apparently none of that ever happened. Nish. Apparently,
Yeah, though I probably will not be playing the game because I'm just not.
there's no world
Yeah,
travel. Nobody ever went anywhere else. Nobody ever went and saw other countries or lived in other countries. This never happened. There was no
yeah,
migrations. There's no traveling. It didn't happen. Didn't happen.
yeah,
Japan is all Japanese people, and um, it's all Europe is all European people, and Africa
yeah,
is all African people, and there's no travel, none.
yeah.
Doesn't happen. Never happens. People
I-
don't find
India
themselves
was
in other countries. India is
India
just
was
Indians.
never all Indian people. I'll say that.
Well, no, no. I'm sorry. I don't bring in your actual experience here into this world because no. Apparently, India is just Indian people, and nobody ever goes there, and nobody ever leaves. You're not in India. You and your family are not in Houston right now. Like, nope, not according to these fucking people. So it's
Yeah,
I don't know. I think the whole thing is very stupid. Stop making me defend Ubisoft. Um,
yeah,
maybe get mad at them for the $130 fucking pricing or the fucking sexual harassment factory that place is. Um, with the CEO doing all the weird unhinged shit.
Um,
And
I think like I don't play Ubisoft games much, but I will say this: the worst experience I've had from them, sort of, is when I realize what they do with like their PC storefront. Like when I realized that, like they're like, oh, if you aren't active in this amount of time, we can like delist your games from your
yes,
eShop or whatever. And I'm like, I have games there, like not many games, but I have games there that I haven't played and that I bought. So why would you take those away from me? Uh,
yeah, 100%. And that's the genuine shit that this company does. That is just horrendous. And the fact you don't have to make shit up. That's the thing. Like, if you want to attack any video game publisher, you don't have to make shit up. Like literally. And I've had people like yeah, you're woke, Zoo. And it's like, no, I'm not. Not really. I think that shit's stupid too. But this is dumb. This is real dumb. This is just like the same people who were mad because of like a half inch of fucking fabric was missing on fucking Stellar Blade, and now nobody even
yeah, the
goddamn
Stellar
talks
Blade
about Stellar
controversy
Blade
was
anymore.
silly.
Yeah, and now
Yeah,
nobody even talks about
crazy.
Stellar Blade anymore. Like you mentioned Stellar Blade, and most gamers go, "What? Who?"
Yeah,
Like it's the new outrage of the day. I'm just I guess I'm tired. I'm just tired. I'm
yeah.
tired, boss. I'm tired
At
of the
this
culture
point,
war shit.
when I'm on Twitter, like I've curated my timeline to where yeah, I've unfollowed a lot of people. I stick to my close friends and my mutuals. And the thing is, like, a few of my friends were like, "Oh, I only like I don't go on Twitter much because like I have people outside of Twitter in the gaming space that I talk to." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. I have a lot of friends on Discord and like other areas of the gaming sphere
Oh,
that I
Twitter's a
talk with and
cesspool.
interact with." But the thing is, like, there are people who are only on Twitter, and I only like mainly talk to them on Twitter. Like, either people who don't have YouTube channels, who I don't have on Discord. I mainly interact with them, and they mainly interact with me on Twitter. So I'm like, if I would have to stay on Twitter, I might as well make the best of it and like make sure that I'm filtering out as much of the BS as I can and not interacting with it. That's the main thing. If
Yeah,
I see like
yeah,
very
get
like
rid of the culture
yeah,
warriors and the
the
pussy
thing
in
is
bio and
yeah,
all
if
the
I
weird
see
shit.
engagement bait of any sort, I don't interact with it anymore because I'm like, I am also a part of the problem. I'm a part of the
I've got to
problem. I'm
remember that.
feeding
I
the
yeah,
yeah,
I
I'm
get.
feeding the beast.
Well, that's the thing. I can't help myself sometimes. And
Yeah.
the one guy who decided he was going to educate me on fucking DEI initiatives. So, well, you understand that DEI is fucking flooding into everything, and like it's like, first of all, like again, I'm an executive level management, and everything you're saying about DEI initiatives is bullshit. Like none of that's not what it's for. That's not how it's used. That's not who pays for it. Well, yeah, say hi to BlackRock for me. They're gonna take care of you. It's like, no, that's not how it works. BlackRock's not in a fucking video game room saying, "Hey, you better put a black guy in your game. We're gonna pull your funding. Better put that guy in the wheelchair in your game, or we're out of here. We're gonna take our money elsewhere." It's not. That's not how it works. It's actually what DI initiatives actually are, and I was talking a little bit about this with Andy B. Is it's actually it's primarily used as initiatives in order to gain talent. Turns out that the talent in the world, like your top tier talent, they like those kind of initiatives in your company because it shows that you're being fair and you're being equitable. And that's actually
Um,
primarily what it's for. It's not
yeah,
like somebody's holding a
especially
bag of money
with
if you put a black
yeah.
guy in your game. Nope, nobody's doing that.
Yeah, when it comes to employment and building teams, especially
You need
having
to
diverse
you have to
teams,
have it.
it really pays dividends
It does.
because with that you get more like creative ideas, you get more diverse ideas, you get more like different
Yes.
viewpoints of
Yes.
different situations. So yeah.
That's what it's for. That's what it's for. That's how it's used.
Yeah.
You'd know this if, well, no, you wouldn't, because you just want to fight. You just want to be mad on the internet. It's like that old meme. It's like
Mm.
he's like, I'm mad about this, and it's like, oh well, here's a solution to the problem, and he like torches it. And he's like, I don't want a solution. I want to be mad. And that's that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what's going on. And again, I've also called out and to the people who say, "Oh, Zeus woke." I've also called out the people who are this so-called woke, done the same thing. There's some real stupid shit that's come out of that side of things too, and I've called it out. So it's
Mhm.
it's not a matter of woke versus not woke or whatever the fuck they're calling themselves these days. It's a
Yeah.
matter of common fucking sense. It's like, hey, can we just
Yeah.
like video games and play video games and stop with the
Yeah.
dumb bullshit? Like this is
For me, I just play the games and I just try to be as respectful as I can
yeah, that's
about
just be
like people's choices in the games
yeah,
and people's opinions about games. Like even like I don't know about you, I wanted to talk to you about this specifically.
yeah.
Um I had this issue specifically, and this was like a New Year's resolution of mine actually.
Mhm.
I made like a video talking about my gaming New Year's resolutions. One of them is to not like let people's opinions get to me because there's that tried and true saying in the gaming community, everyone's opinion like you're entitled to your own opinion, everyone's opinion is valid. But I'm like, what if someone like I'll give you this example. This is a hyperbolic, like extreme example.
Okay.
Think about if someone says, I think Lord of the Rings Gollum is a much better game than The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And they firmly they're not joking about it. They firmly like really believe that like that's their like
Uh,
true opinion. This is a hyperbolic statement, by the way. It's like
sure,
it's
sure.
usually not
And
like
again,
this.
full
But
disclosure is a good scenario because I don't care for either, to be honest.
yeah, yeah. I'm just comparing like a game that is genuinely very highly praised to a
Versus a
game which
game
is
that suck that
yeah,
universally is said to suck.
yeah. So in that instance, if that person says it is their opinion and if they back it up with their opinion, you can't like you can't say anything about it. But
Oh, it's
I've
okay to be
noticed
wrong.
yeah, again, yeah, it is okay to be wrong, but I've noticed there are a lot of people nowadays who see very, very good games and then they pick out so many flaws from it and then they're like, this is never a good game. And I'm like,
Right.
that is your opinion, but like I I feel inclined to want to know about how people got to that point
That's
because
what's
like
more interesting than the opinion itself. Yes.
yeah, because like for example, like I'm trying to think of something uh like what's a like big game that has come out recently that I can think of. Like you can say like Mario Wonder, like a game that both of us have enjoyed for like various reasons. If someone like picks like very nitpickily picks out everything, they're like, I don't like this, and then they like go out of their way to find negative aspects of a game, then I'm like, yeah, that is your opinion, but also like why are you also going out of your way to negatively find
That's
things about this
now
game
now
that
that's the question, isn't it?
yeah.
And that's what I mean on cases like this. And I've open invitation. Like there's a lot of anybody who feels the opposite way. If you think this is like a legitimate like thing that is just ruining gaming, like the DI initiative stuff, come talk to me. We'll talk about it. But one of the things we're going to do is we're going to drill down on this issue, and that's one of the things I talked about with Andy B. I don't think I'm going to get many takers on this because if we drill down on this, I'm not sure you'll like where it's going to go because I think I'm never one to ascribe motivation to people, not until I actually talk to them. But I have a guess. as to what's going on here.
Mm,
And if we get to that, if we get drilled down to that point, not sure you're going to like where it goes about yourself. So,
interesting.
I would be interested. Again, I'm not gonna. I have theories. I have theories about everything, but I would have to talk to a person individually. I don't like to pigeonhole a whole group of people, so you'll never see me say, "Hey, everybody who has X opinion is a bad person for this reason or that reason," because I don't believe in that. But I
Mm,
certainly think that a large portion of people who are really really mad about this, it's either unexamined, in which case we can examine it and we can remove you of your bad opinion, or it is examined and there's something else going on, and that's
mm,
not as nice.
yeah.
Basically.
For me, more than anything, it's just general gaming takes. I'm very curious how people sometimes land at the opinions that
Yeah,
they
like
do.
you would never see me say that. Like, Tears of the Kingdom, I have hangups on. Like, there's things I dislike about
I
myself.
do too, and
You would never
I'm
ever see me say, and never will hear me say, it's a bad game,
yeah, and
because it's just not true.
gosh, like Tears of the Kingdom is so interesting, dude. Like I you know me, I was very, very high on that game.
Yeah,
And I made a lot of like very positive videos on it. But when I completed the game, that lasting impact did not like hit me as long as it did with Breath of the Wild. And then when
yeah,
I sat with the game for longer, I realized, why didn't the game do this? Why didn't the game do this? Why didn't the game do
yeah.
this,
You,
this,
you
this?
you realize
Oh, the
that the
game did this, the game did that. Oh, I have issues with this, this, this.
you
And
you
I
realize that the sacrifice the fucking game is made for doesn't even happen. Like,
yeah,
not to
and
spoil, but yeah.
that's my thing with like that's another thing with video game opinions. Some people put a game or put a series on such a high pedestal. They're like, "Oh, this game is so perfect, it can't do anything wrong." When I will like I think I talked to you about this or someone. I don't remember who I talked to. But we have talked about this specific topic before, but not in this context. I remember very, 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 very vividly the hype cycle leading up to Tears of the Kingdom. The many months, the many years of theorizing. Everyone is like, this will be a great story. This will be a great, great, amazing story. Far better than Breath of the Wild story. Far better than
You remember
anything
me
we've seen in
being
the
like,
Zelda series.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, and then I was as hopeful. I was like, yeah, I want it to be a Skyward Sword level story. And everyone's like, yeah, it will be that good. We want that kind of game. We want it to be that good. The game comes out, we play it, we enjoy it. And people like me had some criticisms of the story. Maybe not complaints, but I didn't like 100% love the story. I liked some aspects of it, but I was like, "Hey, I don't think this aspect made sense. I don't think this thing made sense." And then you know what happened? The whole Zelda fan base just kind of flipped. And they said,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, Zelda's story was never good. Oh, Zelda was never meant to have that good of a story. Oh, what did you expect from this story? Did you expect it to be like really good? Did you expect it to
No,
be like really big and and I'm like,
I
what?
expected it.
What
I
happened?"
expected the world to make sense. That's what I was.
And that's when I noticed this. I was like, this is not people. To me, it didn't feel like people saying, "Oh, it didn't feel like people naturally defending the game." I'll say that people wanted what I wanted, but
Yeah,
when they got what they
cognitive
got,
dissonance.
yeah, when they got what they got, they're like, "Oh, I have to defend what we got. It's okay. It's okay. Like we can't expect anything else. It's Zelda. It's Zelda. We can't like do anything to Zelda. It's Zelda. Like we have
So,
to like talk about how good Zelda is." And I'm like, if you want something to be better than what it is right now, and there is
well,
so much room for Zelda storytelling in this open air like style to be better,
For sure.
like, don't be afraid to speak up about it. Like, it is,
Yeah, no,
it
you owe it to
needs to be,
yourselves
yeah.
as customers because if you don't speak up, you're going to get more of it. Fuck, Nintendo will
Yeah.
give you more of something shitty even if you don't want it and you do speak up. But you have to speak up. But you know me, I go right for the fucking heart of the matter, Nish. I don't even fuck around with like the arguments.
Yeah.
Here's my fucking questions for the pro Tears of the Kingdom people. So question number one. Okay, question number one. Um, why was the game $46 a month after it launched? In some
Oh,
place.
was it? Did it already go on
Oh yeah.
sale
Oh yeah.
that quickly?
Oh yeah. For a Nintendo game. Yeah. Why was it 40? Why
Interesting.
was it $46 at Costco? I know OJ can roll out all day long. Well, Costco, they're not a game store. They don't really know the value of games. Whatnot. No, Costco bullshit. Costco is a fucking company. It's a multinational corporation. It's very, very good at what they do. And I'll tell you what happened is they got a lot of copies of Tears of the Kingdom, and nobody was fucking buying them. Because that leads me into question number two.
Hey, yeah.
Why did the fucking sales collapse literally 2 weeks in?
They flatlined like
Why did the sales
crazy.
collapse so fast? Question number three for
And I was talking to my friend about this. I was like, um, I told him, Breath of the Wild was a lot of new fans. Tears of the Kingdom was a lot of returning fans.
yes, and
And
fans
yeah,
that we do not know if they'll return for game 3, by the way. So
yeah,
I am very, very curious to see the sales on the next Zelda game. That will literally be a referendum on Tears of the Kingdom. That will be.
mm,
And my prediction is that the next game is going to sell even less. That's my
interesting.
prediction. It's going to sell
We'll
less.
see how it goes. We'll see.
Um,
And the thing is,
people are going to
yeah,
punish Nintendo for Tears of the Kingdom. They're going to be punished for that. I've seen it. I've
yeah,
seen it time and time again. And again, that's not a prediction. That's a statement of fact. That game will do less.
yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom. It will do less.
You know what kind of specifically blew my mind and made me be like, what planet am I living on?
Sure.
It was when there was an interview that came out with Hiromaru Fujibayashi, who's the director of the game, and someone asked him straight up, so what happened to all the prevalent Sheikah tech that was
Just ask him.
around
Yes.
in the
And
world?
tell us what he said,
And
Nish.
the thing is, like, in any game with world building, it, it is natural, very, very, very natural to, especially if the game takes place in the same like kingdom, same location, same world.
Yeah.
It is natural, very, very, very normally natural to expect an explanation, a single line of dialogue, a single reference to one of the most important things in the world. Like, he, I like I will give you an example. In our conversation today, someone mentioned the pandemic in the chat. I Someone mentioned, like, it was yeah, the Great Wall. He mentioned like a very big event that happened in our lives. And like we still talk about the 2020 like COVID-19 pandemic because it was like huge. It was a huge deal. I was utterly shocked that like no one, not a single person mentioned anything about the Sheikah tech. And I was like, dude, this is the same world. This is Zelda. Like Zelda connects things. Like Zelda, like they remember what happened in the past, especially if it's a direct sequel. They're gonna remember. And they didn't say anything. And Hidemaru Fujibayashi's response was the first baffling thing. He said, "Oh, the Sheikah tech disappeared. It just
Oh,
disappeared because its purpose was finished. It finished its purpose and it disappeared. And now we have the Zonai technology." And that I was like, okay, you
except its
probably
purpose isn't fulfilled because now we've got dehydrated Ganon,
yeah, and
who has literally dehydrated all the weapons. You know, taken all the lotion from the world. to rehydrate himself, which explains, I guess, that's my headcanon for why all the weapons are brittle and break, is he like
Yeah,
dehydrated them and took them upon himself. And like basically Ganon is sending his agents into the world to get all the lotion, because he needs to rehydrate. And so
yeah.
that's what this is for, is to try to get the lotion before Ganon does. That is
The
my
thing
head
is,
canon. That's how ridiculous that fucking game was, story was.
yeah, and yeah, that's one thing. Like he said, "Oh, the Sheikah tech just disappeared," and I could tell from reading that response that he just thought of that response in that moment. I was like, "Okay,
He never
sure,
thought of it.
whatever."
Yeah.
Yeah, in that moment, I was like, "Okay, he doesn't care." But then, what made me feel like I was on a completely other plane of existence is when people were defending his response,
Yep.
saying that, oh, it doesn't matter, oh, it's fine, who cared about the Sheikah tech anyway, who cared about connecting the two worlds, it's Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, it's supposed to be Zonai tech, it doesn't matter, the story never mattered in Zelda anyways. And I'm like, yeah, of course, the story is not like a big prevalent thing in
But the
Zelda, and
world,
you know this for sure.
but the
You
world does matter.
Yeah, but here's the thing. My response to this was, if the story never mattered, if continuity didn't matter, if continuity doesn't matter between a prequel and a sequel, then please explain to me the first 10 minutes of Wind Waker. The first, like, the intro of Wind Waker was like, did that even matter? Like, what was the
Yeah,
point of them including that in Wind Waker? Like,
my response
ah,
here, there's this one loud guy that always responds anytime I say anything about Tears of the Kingdom. And like he wants to argue and fight. I'm like, buddy, I'm not going to fight shit with you. Where's all Celtic Zelda videos, buddy? Where's all of his Tears of the Kingdom content?
yeah,
Like, I don't have to fight with you. Like, the community and the reaction to Tears of the Kingdom speaks for itself. I don't have
yeah.
to fucking fight with you. The
Do
sales
you know
speak
who
for
Bandit
itself.
Games is?
Who's that?
Bandit Games is another Zelda YouTuber who publicly came out and said he was like, I am very upset with what Tears of the Kingdom
Yeah,
did with storytelling and lore. He said, and it was, to him, it was very personal, and to me it was as well, because
I don't
in
have
the
to argue with
beginning
you.
of
Yeah.
the game, they bait and switch you. They bait and switch you so hard by saying, like, Ganondorf wakes up and he says, Zelda and Link, he like recognizes them, and he's like, oh,
Oh,
Rauru must have had a lot of purpose in you. And when I saw that, I literally dropped my controller. I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be the best game ever, this is gonna be the best story
later
ever.
on,
And
he's
it's
like,
such a bait and
Link, I
switch,
can't wait
it's
to
such a
meet
bait
him.
and switch. Yeah, god,
I can't wait to
like,
meet him. Like, what? Also, is
crazy,
that the
crazy.
Ocarina of Time Ganon, or is that not the Ocarina of Time Ganon?
it,
And the
it
answer
seems
is,
to be a
we don't
different
know.
one.
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. It seems to be a new one. My headcanon is that it is a new one. My crazy like confusion with the continuity and timeline
Oh,
placement of
they
Tears of the
fucked it,
Kingdom, which
man.
also doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of it, is
Oh,
the whole like um founding of the Kingdom of Hyrule. Because before Tears of the
yeah,
Kingdom, I was under the impression that Link and Zelda from Skyward Sword established the kingdom, but
correct.
now it seems that Rauru and Sonia and the Zonai established the kingdom of Hyrule. So
I
that
don't
throws a
know.
wrench in there. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
there are so many inconsistencies in this.
Yeah,
Here's what they
at
did.
this point,
They fucked themselves. And I said this again. This is another zoo prophecy that happened when they announced it was going to be in the same world space. Remember, my reaction was like, I don't know about that. I don't know. That presents a lot of problems because they had never done that before. They had never had a direct sequel in the same world space. Never. With the same
yeah,
link. And it never happened. I'm like, you better have some writing chops to do that or you're going to fuck yourselves into a corner. And they did.
yeah,
Like, it's sadly predictable. It's sadly predictable.
yeah.
Um,
I think the game was good. I think the systems were phenomenal. I think the traversal is phenomenal. The world design, the physics, the gameplay loop, the shrines, the combat, the boss battle, the fusing, all of that was great. My two really significant issues with that game was the story, the pacing, the memories, and the dungeons. The dungeons broke my heart when I first. Oh my
Oh,
god! Like when I first got into the Wind Temple, I was like, "Oh man, the lead up to the Wind Temple is so cool, so awesome." I get in there, I interact with that first thing, and I see 4 dots on my map, and my heart sinks.
yep.
I'm
It's the
like,
same.
wow,
It's the
it's
divine
another
beast.
divine beast. It's another divine
It's the divine
beast.
beast again. Yep. It's game, and I see. You're kinder than I am. I don't like the fusion system. I thought the explanation for why every goddamn weapon in the kingdom was brittle because Ganon has this new magic power all of a sudden is fucking ridiculous. I didn't like
I like
spending.
how fusing takes into account the properties of what you have fused.
I mean,
So
it's
I thought that
cool,
was really cool.
but
Yeah.
the thing with the fusing is though is what is the gameplay identity of the Legend of Zelda? It is knight in dark fantasy wonderland. I don't. It's hard for me to feel like a knight when I can't swing a sword. Instead, I have to fuse all these pieces of shit together, and it keeps me in the menu. And especially the arrows kept me in the menu. And
Yeah,
the
it
the
it
the,
was very goofy.
the build
The-
a bear.
the-
Yeah, I'm swinging around some weird piece of shit that I've cobbled together out of some sticks and some fucking bokoblin fangs. And then on
yeah,
top of that, I've got to build a bear every time I want to go somewhere. I got to build a bear, and my build a bear doesn't work properly, so I got to rebuild the bear. And like now, it did have Ascent, and I thought Ascent was an
the
amazing
send was
power.
great. Yeah.
Ascent was amazing. So
I
there,
loved Recall as well. Recall was
Recall
very
was cool.
underrated.
Recall was
Yeah,
cool. Yeah,
Recall was like I like to call it the Control Z. Like whenever I'm in like Photoshop or Figma or
yeah, but yeah,
DaVinci, it's like my undo button. Like, oh, I made a
yes.
mistake, I'll do that.
Well, I don't.
And
But
Recall was like my undo button, my mistake button.
the thing of it was, I'm in a legend. I don't want to fucking build shit. I don't want to fucking cobble shit in Zelda. You know,
Yeah.
I want to go stick my sword in something nasty. That's what I want to do.
hmm
That's the whole point of Zelda. Um, I don't want
One
to do
game that
fucking
I'm
puzzles,
yeah.
and I don't want to fucking build your build your fucking Bob the Builder contraptions, Link the Builder.
One game that I'm playing right now, which is giving me like a very Twilight Princess kind of like gritty Zelda vibe is Shadow of the Colossus. But one thing I'm missing from that game is
Animation,
the dungeon crawling and
yeah.
the puzzle aspect of it. And like it's good. I I expected to like Shadow of the Colossus more than I am right now. I'm really enjoying it. The bosses are really cool, but that's the only like good part of the
There's
game.
only 12 of them or 16 or whatever. Though.
There's 16, and getting to those bosses, getting to those colossi is very annoying, tedious.
Yeah,
So like
there's nothing there from what I gather.
yeah, there's nothing there, and getting there, like the beacon on your sword is often telling you to go in the wrong
Oh
direction.
shit.
So like that's what I like about Zelda. Zelda has the in between, like Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, Wind Waker. It had a lot of in between the dungeons and the high action, high octane stuff. But Breath of the Wild, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I was talking to one of my friends about this. There's
Mhm.
too much in between. There needs to be more like pacing
They could
and
shrink the world
more like
down for sure. Yeah.
they need to have a balance. Of course, like I know Anuma said so many times he doesn't want to go back to linear traditional Skyward Sword esque Zelda, but they need
No,
to have a
we don't.
balance. They need to have a balance of a like good paced story to keep me engaged while also having that freedom so I can go wherever I want and do whatever I want. And a lot of people had so many criticisms about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's open world and gameplay loop, but I'm like, if they do something like this for a Zelda game, I would actually really like it because I felt
Okay.
so engaged in that loop of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I know a lot of other people did not, but it really like ticked all the boxes for me. For me, it personally felt like a more advanced Xenoblade, and more advanced meaning like in like the visual and technical like parts. But in that gameplay loop, it felt like Xenoblade, and it had that story pacing to keep me going. if Zelda has that like flexibility and that freedom, but it also has rewarding aspects to its exploration, and it has a little bit more of a contained kind of approach to its open world gameplay, and a little bit more like linearity and pacing to its story. I think it would be good. Just a little bit of a balance.
Oh, for sure. Tears of the Kingdom is a game that really didn't make very many people happy. That's the bottom line of it. It didn't. It didn't make people who like the old school, traditional, open world Zelda. Didn't make us very happy. It didn't make the people who want a more linear, more story driven experience. Didn't make them happy either. It was kind of the bridge that nobody wanted. That's what I kind of see Tears of the Kingdom as. Instead of giving either of those parties a game they wanted, instead, you decided to make your own thing with these weird Bob the Builder mechanics. And as a result, your game fucking surged its first few weeks and then fell off a fucking cliff. And you are in a much weaker position going into 2024 than you should have been because of the weakness of that game. I think the weakness of that game will be apparent in the next game. I think Nintendo is going to be punished for this for a long time. I'm not saying it's a bad game.
Yeah.
It's just a game that nobody wanted.
I still can't believe that some characters who Link straight up knew in Breath of the Wild don't recognize him
don't know you.
in Tears of the Kingdom, and people don't realize how that's a problem.
It's a big problem. And then I would just see other things like the fucking birds, the fucking bird village. It's starving. And it's like, oh gee, if only because it's so cold they're starving. It's like, oh gee, if only you were birds and you could do something like go south for the winter. Oh gee, if only you were fucking birds. But it's nonsense after and there's a million of those. The fucking guy, you helped build a goddamn village for the guy.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Who you are.
Yeah, that's specifically who I was talking about.
That's
Bolson's side quest in Breath of the Wild is a prerequisite, and it's a requirement to do the Terrytown side quest. And Terrytown in Tears of the Kingdom is canon. It is canon that you have done Terrytown, or Link has done Terrytown in Breath of the Wild. And Bolson comes to Hudson's wedding in Breath of the Wild, and he talks to you about, oh, Hudson has changed. Oh, he's changed so much. Thank you so much for helping him. This guy, Bolson, in Tears of the Kingdom, sees you in Lurelin Village, and it's like he's looking at like a stranger. And I'm like, dude, you know who I am. You're supposed to know who I am. Like, just why? And the thing is, I was telling some people it might be potentially, it might be because like a lot of people were working on this game, a lot of new hires came in, and they just had to like throw things together in terms of like side questing and stuff. I wouldn't say last minute, but like there might not have been like people who knew exactly what happened in the previous game and how it like tied into this game. And I'm like, that's what you have to make sure. You need to make sure everyone's on the same page about like continuity.
This is not a goddamn indie game. This is a fucking Legend of Zelda game from Nintendo's EE1.
It's an anomaly. It's like nothing like that has happened in the series before, and people are like, "Oh, it's not like this. Oh, Zelda's always been like this. Zelda always has like weird storytelling." I'm like, no.
Wrong.
Again, I take you guys back to the first 10 minutes of Wind Waker. Like, of course, the first intro is recounting the events of Ocarina of Time, and then the whole like part of like the whole outside island like part of the game is your grandmother telling you that you need to continue this legacy of the hero of time, who was like a hero of legend, who was like way back in the past. And that whole Wind Waker game is like paying homage to Ocarina of Time, and so is Twilight Princess in so many ways. But those are sequels. Oh, like yeah, that's whatever.
I mean, you
You
can
can
even go back to the
you
NES
can
days.
tie those back as sequels. And then Skyward Sword as well. Skyward Sword ties back to what the Master Sword was, how the Master Sword came to be, like all that stuff. And it just it makes sense. Even though it like adds new lore, like the robots from Lanayru in the past, the new races you see in the surface of Hyrule, which is not yet Hyrule, it still makes sense that these people are here, these races are here. It all makes
I need
sense.
to get back into Skyward Sword. I tried so hard, Nish, for you.
Oh, Skyward Sword's
and
so
and and
good.
there
It's
are
so
some
good.
things in it that are really good. The boss fight with white lip gloss is really good.
Yeah.
I still need to figure out where white lip gloss factors in. I'm sure he factors into the story somewhere in terms
Oh,
of
he
like,
factors in very,
okay,
very
okay, yeah,
fantastically into
yeah, I
the
know.
story.
So there's white. I like Red Pompadour much more than I thought I would.
One of the best characters in the game, Red
I
Pompadour
do like
Groose.
I do like Red
Yeah,
Pompadour. Um,
one of the
uh,
best.
Regal Unibrow, I don't know. He seems kind of absentee. Principal's daughter seems like a fucking brat, but I'm sure we'll be able to explore why that is. Like, I'm still looking for Principal's daughter, can't find her. Yeah, Regal Unibrow doesn't really seem too concerned that his daughter's missing, which is interesting. Um, like,
It I will say Skyward Sword did something crazy that I did not expect. It made the rest of the series make so much more sense.
yeah,
And that's
and
the
again,
opposite of what Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom did.
yes, yeah. Actually, that's the amazing thing I was gonna say. Tears of the Kingdom actually makes me appreciate Skyward Sword all the more in terms of what it was trying to do, which is amazing coming from me. That's like holy shit, Nintendo.
Mm,
Like, anyway, so we could talk forever about that, but yeah.
yeah. I
Let's
will
see.
say I might have to I probably do have to get going soon, but so we can
And we'll
slowly start
finish these.
wrapping up.
Yeah, we'll finish these super chats up, and then we'll wrap up.
It was a really nice discussion though. We ended up going for much longer than I thought we
Well,
would.
you're actually. I don't know if we'll make it, but you're close to the record. Actually,
What? No way.
yeah.
The
So
record is Emily, right?
Morbology 345.
Yeah.
Um, you won't.
How long was
We
the
won't
discussion
come
with her?
close in views, but 3 hours 45 minutes.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you're close. We'll see.
Yeah,
Um,
it looks like we're like 3
yeah,
hours and 15
yep.
minutes or
And
so.
again, we're not going to artificially inflate that shit just to do it, but we'll see. We're close though.
Yeah.
Let's see. But then again, Atlas does Atlas things. It's really the make or break's going to be the chat for you. Um, how long can they keep our asses talking? But then again, Atlas does Atlas things. They'll love to sell you costumes and music either in re-releases or expansion pass. True. Yep, that is Atlas does what Atlas does. Atlas is weird, like they are. There is a method to their madness, though. And then Kaiser says, then again, it's like a Sega thing as well. Yep. Who can forget the whole Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth situation where they
Oh yeah,
locked New Game Plus
that was
behind a
crazy. Yeah.
paywall?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Whoa. I think I remember hearing about that now. Yeah, okay. I remember that now. And then he says, oh, yeah, the day one DLC stuff I will continue to ignore forever. I hope they don't start locking more stuff behind it like Infinite Wealth New Game Plus. Yeah, that's the best way to do these things is like when they try to do that content roadmap bullshit, just don't buy it. Ignore it. Hopefully, when they launch Persona 3 Reload on Switch 2, it'll be a content complete version. Is it not content complete?
Which one? Persona 3 Reload. Well, yeah, it does have like the DLC expansion. So
Huh.
we'll
Okay.
see. Yeah,
Interesting.
we'll
Okay.
see if they add
And he
that.
says, yeah.
Like
And
on
then
the cartridge, that'll be nice.
it would be. Yes. World effectively had unlimited power ups. Yeah. Mario World. Yes. Yeah. There's that. Literally, you can just go back. Repeating stages. I will say this till I'm blue in the face. The ability to go back and replay stages in Mario games fucking broke the difficulty of the Mario games. It broke it. Mario's on a journey. It makes no goddamn sense for him to go back and conquer an area he's already conquered from the Koopas. So literally to go back just to get power ups or coins or lives, it makes the whole experience much less challenging because it suddenly the resources become finite. I've always said the next 2D Mario game, and I've been saying this since fucking World, next 2D Mario game needs to take a page out of Three's book. Mario is on a fucking journey. It's an important journey. He's moving forward constantly. He cannot go back. He's on a journey to save whatever, and it needs to feel like that again instead of like a fucking leisurely stroll through the Flower Kingdom.
Mm.
So, Great Wall says, sadly, I've not played any Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy games. Oh, Great Wall, we've got to get that corrected, homie. Like, we got to correct that.
Yeah, Great Wall and Upper Nimbus need to get into the Final Fantasy series.
Upper Nimbus too?
Yeah, Upper Nimbus, I remember him saying in some comments of mine, in some of my videos, he needs to get into Final Fantasy. I think I'm
Yes.
slowly inspiring him to, so
Yes.
hopefully
Well,
how
keep
that
up the good
goes.
work, because yes. Probably Switch 2 for a Fantasio. There you go. Nish said it. Talk about read it for him. Yes, and um, I see it. Yeah, yeah. Among other things, that people got overblown from that game. You know the one. Meanwhile, Koei Tecmo Omega Force whistles when they had Yasuke also in. Uh, Also was black in Samurai Warriors 5 back in 2021, and nobody complained about them. And by the
Yeah.
way, that was a Japanese studio that put Yasuke in the game. So, just saying, like that wasn't a Western set; it was a Japanese studio. It seems like nobody really had an issue with it then. It seems like we just suddenly have issues with it because a lot of people need to make some money off the outrage. That's what it seems like to me. There's also that element to it. Maybe
Engagement
Ubisoft.
farming.
What's that?
No, I was just saying it's engagement farming.
Engagement farming. Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Maybe Ubisoft is just that easy of a target. And that's the thing. I actually don't believe the content creators that are pushing this shit. I don't believe they actually are mad about it. I don't. I do think that they know that there's a lot of gamers who are reactionary gamers that just get mad for no reason. And I think they're playing to that crowd for sure. For money. Like that's the game. Rush Dog says, remember that game Neo? It featured a white samurai who was also a real person. It released with zero controversy. I wonder why. Yeah, where was this movement then? I guess would be my question. Like, and he would fight Oni because that happened in real life too. There were like big ogre monsters and shit that you fought. Yeah, yeah. And then Mad Cow says exactly, Rush Dog. If anything, Koei Tecmo has controversy recently. It's mainly with Rise of the Ronin. Of it looks like a PS3 game, which I don't see what was wrong with Rise of the Ronin. It looked like a perfectly good action Team Ninja game. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm not just not that big of a graphics guy. Um, Even though Team Ninja Souls-like games aren't graphical high art, they have a neat art direction, as well as expect Sony and their money grubbing to expect high fidelity from that. But they're not graphical masterpieces as they strive for gameplay first and foremost, whatnot, bosses and all. Yeah, yeah. So, like, I remember Ninja Gaiden, and I love that. I love the shit out of that game. What I played on it so far on the Switch is really good.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely true for Team Ninja games, especially since Itagaki left. They always focused on gameplay, but their graphics aren't very high end. The original 3D Ninja Gaiden on Xbox was the last time they aimed for high end graphics as well. Yeah, Ninja Gaiden looks really fucking good for the time. Damn, it looks good.
Do you remember what else Team Ninja made?
Dead or Alive?
They were also in charge of or they played a part in Metroid Other M, I think, didn't they?
They did, but I'm not going to give them the blame for that because we know, you and I both know where the blame really
Sakamoto.
lies, and that's fucking Sakamoto. And yeah, Sakamoto and Sakamoto's scrub brush for sure. Um, yes, that's where the actual blame lies. Yeah, fucking game. Oh god, that's what I forgot to talk to Andy B about. Andy B is a other M defender. So Andy B,
Oh, I
Andy
would
B,
have
that moves
loved
you up the
to.
chain. Yeah, you got to get back on here. You got to defend that shit to me because you and your friends on your podcast, Babylon Gaming, which by the way, guys, another great podcast. You guys should go subscribe to
Mm.
Andy B. But we didn't have time to get into it that night because that was a structured show. But yeah, I need some fucking answers on how Other
It
M is defended.
it seems to be Andy B and then Rule 2 Review, who's like my go-to Metroid guy.
Hey,
He's
he's a
like the
defender of
Metroid
that crap.
guru. He's also a he doesn't think Other M's like the best thing ever, but like he he's like, it's not that bad.
It's okay
And
to
I'm
be
like,
wrong.
oh, come on.
It's okay to be wrong, but we need to drill down on that for sure. Yeah, I will brook no praise of Other M. I will not. That was the beginning of the end for the Wii, along with the fucking Wii music trash and the Mario Galaxy 2, and then what was it in Skyward Sword, your game.
Yep.
That was the beginning. I saw that. I'm like, okay, yep, Nintendo's made its money. Now they're gonna do what they want to do. So be it. So be it, Nintendo. And then we know what happened after that. Like again, like when you're in business, you have to listen to your market. You have to listen to your market. Nintendo, sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't.
Mm.
Um, let's see here. Yeah, and I guess even Dissidia NT was an exception, as that game looked good, though kind of had to, especially for a Final Fantasy game, even if the game itself is trash.
The
Dissidia, is that the
Dissidia
fighting?
cutscenes are very, very
Is
nice.
that
I'll
the
say
fighting
that.
game?
I don't know what Dissidia is. I've only seen the Dissidia cutscenes, and the only reason I know it is because it's like a huge Final Fantasy crossover with all the protagonists and antagonists and all that.
I
The,
think it was Dissidia, but I remember seeing footage from Dissidia, and it was Kefka, and they
yeah,
gave
it's
Kefka a
yeah,
voice, and I
yeah.
remember sitting there in horror, thinking to myself, "Oh God, oh God, this is what Square Enix would have done to Final Fantasy VI if they had voice acting."
Yeah.
Oh
You
my
know what's funny
God,
is
I'm so
Dissidia is the
glad they
only
didn't have
reason.
voice acting.
Yeah, Dissidia is the reason I know how the Final Fantasy IX protagonist's name is pronounced, and it's
Oh,
from
so
Mad Kaiser's.
okay, what is the mystery? Solve this for me. Is it Zidane?
So I don't know if Mad Kaiser is in the comments, but if he's still in the chat, I want to know what he thinks of his pronunciation. But I always, when I first started the game, I called him Zidane, but in Dissidia, he's called Zidane.
Zidane. Okay, so because I always thought it was
So
Zidane,
I
but yeah, that was not the
yeah,
case.
I think the canonical pronunciation is Zidane, and
Zidane.
if that Final Fantasy IX remake is real, which I really hope it is, I guess we'll finally get confirmation then because I really truly hope that we hear voice acting in that remake. We'll see.
If it's good. Because again, oh
Yeah.
God, the City of voice act. I cringed. I literally cringed when I'm like, God, if Square had access to voice acting, Final Fantasy VI would not be the masterpiece it is today. It would be remembered as being cringe. Like you
Yeah.
can fucking ruin a great story with cringe ass voice acting. Titus says.
Yeah.
But
I'm looking forward to playing 10.
you should play it with the Titus laugh mod. Like it's fucking amazing. Like every time Titus talks, it's the laugh. And then the soundtrack is made up of Titus. They've replaced the entire soundtrack with Titus laughing. It's the
Oh
soundtrack.
my
It's the
god.
actual Final Fantasy X soundtrack, but instead of the musical cues, it's ha 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 ha. Like literally.
That sounds like one of those silly like videos you see on YouTube.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
like one of the other characters just grunts. And then Titus is like, ah, ha, ha, ha. It's all the dialogue. Fucking great. Oh, the internet. True. I think it helped that they made for arcades first, so it had very different focus. Yep, arcade roots makes a difference. Sucks the game wasn't any good though. Disappearance of the Sheik Tech is honestly baffling. Yes, 100%. And then Rush Dog adds they had 6 years to think of how to connect Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom in a logical way, and they
Uh,
clearly didn't care enough to do so. Yep, that's it. And that's it.
I
It's Nintendo just didn't care. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
I think they were just way too caught up in making the Ultra Hand physics work, and they did. Like, thank God they made it
Yeah.
work. But like, did you not have an entire other team working on story continuity and narrative?
It's unbelievable. Um, anyway, it's been fun hearing you guys talk, but I got to go. Talk to you later. Vinceful Magus, thanks for sticking around listening to two assholes like us talk for over 3 hours. That's pretty amazing, dude. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Always welcome, and always welcome on the show too, man. Come on, we'll chew the fat sometime. And you wishing him a good night. Everybody wishing Magus a good night. And then Chicken Fillets jokes about me not playing Final Fantasy VII all the time. Well, you're not alone in that boat. I have half completed Final Fantasy VII. I'm at like the ancient ruins of the ancients or whatever right now. So I need to get back on it too, doggone it. But all
I have a very strange history with Seven. Like, I made this video called like learning to love Final Fantasy VII after 4 failed attempts.
yes,
And that's
yes,
sort of what happened. Like, I just
you
did
just
not click with
you
it,
kept
and
dropping off.
finally in the last attempt, it sort of clicked. And then I completed it. I enjoyed it for what it was. I liked Remake more, and then I played Rebirth, and I absolutely loved it. And then I played 9, and then like 9 had me hooked. I could not stop playing 9. I loved it so much. I loved the characters, the gameplay, the story, everything. I just loved it. And then I thought about 7 retrospectively, and I was like, dang, I like 7 less now because I liked 9 so much more than 7. And it's not to say that like 7 is a bad game or anything. I don't think so. I just did not vibe with 7 as much as 9. But I actually do think that 7 does a few things better than 9 does. Especially like the customization and the gear and the menu management and like the whole materia system basically is way
Yeah,
better than
yeah.
what
Material
9
system
has.
is basically like
Yeah.
a open job system, damn near. Like
Yeah, it's very, very customizable. But I think in terms of complexity, I think 7 does it very well with the materia system. But I think I prefer 9's approach with the abilities because you are a set class. You like stick to that class and you just learn abilities based off of that class alone. So it just kind of streamlines things.
yeah,
Whereas with the materia system, I'm like, oh, I have to figure out how to make each character good with like the materia that they have. Otherwise, I was just like throwing materia at everything. I was like, I don't know if it's working. We'll
right.
see.
You know, not sure what's going. Well, eventually you can combo some really good stuff, but yeah, in the beginning it's kind of labyrinthian at the start for sure.
Yeah,
100%. I think OJ came down on that side too, where basically he just had a video today of his top JRPGs, and I think he
I did
basically
see that. I
yeah,
liked it.
yeah, he came down on the 9 side, I think, as well, because it's like it's hard to argue that 7 is a better game than 9 in terms of looking at everything outside of my own bias. It's like it's hard to argue with 9. Like 9
Yeah,
is a pretty top tier Final Fantasy game
yeah.
for sure. All
Yeah,
righty.
7 just had the cultural impact. It was just more revolutionary, kind of like Ocarina of Time. And then Wind Waker and Twilight Princess built off of that, sort of like what 9 did.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, of course, it is a game that came later. It also is kind of a return of like the crystals and kind of the more traditional trappings
Yes,
of
yeah.
Final Fantasy had been missing for a little while too. So, yeah. All righty. Well, I think that's everything that the chat has on offer. Did you have any questions for me?
Ooh, I feel like I did have questions.
All right.
Oh yeah, here's the big thing. Yeah, I mentioned earlier in the stream about like a digital game that I wanted to talk to you about. Here's the thing. We talked about Xenoblade 3. I wanted to tell you, Xenoblade 3, once you complete the game, a lot of things will make sense. A
Okay.
lot of things will be answered, but there will still be a lot of questions you have. And a lot of those questions, fortunately and maybe unfortunately, are answered in the DLC story Future Redeemed. And the problem with that is it's not like Torna. Torna does not have a physical version. Future Redeemed does not have a physical version. So to you, it's almost as if Future Redeemed does not exist. So I
Oh
will say this.
no.
I know that you probably may not yourself play Future Redeemed, but once you complete Xenoblade 3, I highly, really recommend that you go and watch someone's playthrough or at least watch the cutscenes of that game. But I want you to watch a playthrough
Okay.
because you will see what I mean by Future Redeemed is the greatest thing Microsoft has made. Meaning
Nish, I'm
they took
honestly, I'm so tempted to break my rule.
I I think you should because what they've
Ooh.
done with that DLC expansion is they've taken every single thing from Xenoblade 1, 2, 3, as well as you won't believe this. They took a major gameplay loop mechanic and exploration mechanic from Xenoblade Chronicles X and they brought it into Future Redeemed. When I realized that, I was
Wow. So
mind blown.
they tied everything together.
Not only like you'll see what that means in terms of story, but in terms of gameplay, it's basically like everything that Monolith Soft learned and everything that they've done well and everything they've accomplished is in Future Redeemed, and it's just the greatest thing that they've done,
What
and
a
I was
fucking
so blown
tragedy
away.
that there's no physical version of that.
I
And
I was a little upset about it because I didn't get like if I'd known that like I waited a very long time to get that Xenoblade 3 expansion pass because I waited till the very end and I was like, oh, they're gonna have a physical release. They're going to because they did with Torna, but then they didn't. And I was like, oh
holy
god,
shit. Yeah, I'm
crazy.
tempted. I'll be honest. I've never been more tempted in my life to break
Yeah.
my
If
rules.
you don't, then like I said, at least watch a playthrough so you can see
I
how
kind
the
of feel like
gameplay loop works.
I kind of feel like I need to play it. That's the
Yeah.
thing. I
Did
might
you play
have.
Torna
Um,
on physical?
I did play Torna,
Yeah.
and Torna is good. Torna is really good. Torna is going to get a separate
Yeah.
review though because it is
Okay.
separate. It's a separate standalone game. So,
Yeah, it basically is, and so is Future Redeemed.
oh,
But
it's
Future
so
Redeemed
bullshit.
is I would say it's less standalone from Torna because Torna is like you can kind of play Torna without knowing what happens in Xenoblade
Yeah,
3.
this is
But
a
but
complete
Future
prequel.
Redeemed like you need to know how things work in Xenoblade 3 to understand Future Redeemed.
My understanding, yeah, is Future Redeemed is a sequel, whereas Torna was a prequel that took place like
I
1,000
won't
years
say
before or
much.
whatever.
I won't say much.
Okay,
You just yeah, you'll figure it out.
awesome. Well, again, I that one I might break the rule for that one.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
So we'll have to see what happens. But god damn it, that's tempting. All righty. Well, anything else for me?
Um, that's the main one I can think of. Yeah, I'm assuming you probably won't be getting the Nintendo Switch 2 at launch, right? Because I may not either.
Not at launch. No, I got plenty
Yeah,
to keep me busy. Not at
yeah.
launch, but I
It,
will
it it really
definitely.
depends on what they have to offer at launch
Yeah,
because if I also made a video on this how like with backwards compatibility, if I have to upgrade every single game I want,
I saw
then
that
it's
video.
going to be like it's gonna be like paying for an entirely new game, which kind of sucks, but it's also like it's all right. But at the same time, I'm like I would really want substantially good games to want me to pick it up day one. So
It's
we'll
kind
see.
of anti-consumer if they go that route that you're fearing. It's pretty
I
anti-consumer.
I hope the upgrades are free. I really hope they are.
Yeah, yeah, just give it free, maybe $10 tops, but yeah, it should not be. You should not be making us buy brand new versions of these $70. No,
Yeah.
no fucking way
And
would
like
fly.
my thing is even if they are $10, like there's at least 6 or 7 games that I would want to upgrade and that's like a price for a $70 game.
Ugh,
Yeah.
damn. Let's see. So at flipping the switch, do you have a list of your games somewhere for reference? I know you said you have over 400 games. I'm looking to expand my collection with some recommendations. Great. Well, I do on the old SNES Hub website that I used to write for. I was gushing about the Switch. This is like 3 years in though, so no way is that list up to date at this point. I'll tell you what I will do. I will go and I will catalog my games. I've been needing to do this anyway. I told Orbalology I would do this, and I will get that game list updated, and I will post that to my. It's too long for Twitter. I'll post that. It'll be my first YouTube channel post. I'll just post the games I have and the games I plan on reviewing.
Sick.
That way everybody can see my personal collection. Yeah, I'll do that. That'll be a fun weekend
Oh,
project.
oh, I completely forgot to mention one thing, and this is like I remember before we got started, I said I have a surprise for you, and this
Oh
is my
yeah.
surprise. So, I was listening to our October Liquored Up Live talk, and in that you were talking about how you went to a Mexican and African restaurant and tried chicken yassa, right?
Uh-huh.
That inspired me today to make it myself, and it actually turned out pretty good. I'll send you some pictures, but it
You made
was a
Yasa?
very yeah, I did it myself.
Ooh.
It was really cool. It was my first time ever buying a Scotch bonnet pepper and using it in a recipe. It was crazy.
Ooh.
So it actually turned out pretty well. I'll send you some pictures,
Fuck yes.
and it was yeah, it was good.
Oh, Yasa is life, man. Like chicken Yasa is like one of my favorite fucking recipes now. And yeah, I actually
Yeah,
have been making it and kind of do it yourself because it gets expensive to like constantly order it every fucking other day. And
yeah.
yeah, the chicken
It took a long time to prepare, but it was
yes,
worth it.
oh
It was
god,
very
it's
worth it.
so good. Like yeah, it's like an onion marinated deliciousness. Oh god, the
Yeah,
Scotch bonnet
caramelized
brings out the heat.
onions with the
Oh,
mustard and the like the
dude,
marinade and all that. It's good.
it's so fucking good. That
Yeah,
God,
I'll
yeah.
send you pictures. I'll put it in the Discord server as well. In the what's for dinner. I'll
Oh
put it in
fuck
there.
yeah, yeah. I need to get back on the Discord. I've been really getting away from Discord just because I've been getting away from a lot of
Mhm.
social media in general. And yeah,
Makes sense.
Jay's
Yeah,
Discord is fucking lit. It's such a great place. Uh,
yeah. It's nice. I like that
he's really carved out a nice environment
community.
there. So yeah, aside from the yassa, I know you cook a lot too. What else you been cooking up?
Just curries and other thing. I'm trying to like expand my vegetarian repertoire. I I the next like week or so I'll be making a lot of dal, which is exciting because I'm sure you know
Oh yeah.
dal. Yeah, you having made dansak and stuff, you know dal. So yeah.
Oh, tansak is so good.
Yeah, this yassa recipe sort of reminded me of dal because what we do is when we make dal, we add our own kind of like flavoring into it. Otherwise, it's just like lentils and water and it has no taste. To give it taste, we add like mustard seeds, like a chili pepper, like a whole entire chili pepper. We just crush it, put it in.
Mm-hmm.
We add like a special kind of like rock salt and just a bunch of other spices in there to like make it really nice and flavorful.
Yeah, a little bit of turmeric will
Um,
give it a little bit of an earthy note too. Um,
yeah,
in terms of yeah, there's all kinds of good stuff you can add into dal.
yeah,
But yeah, crushed chili pepper would be really good actually. So
yeah,
I'm gonna steal that. That sounds really good. But yeah,
yeah,
just oh, there's so many good cuisines all over the world, man.
yeah.
Which apparently according to Twitter people, that doesn't happen either. Like, yeah, why would cooking cross borders? You know, if samurai
Yeah.
can. But I tease the trolls, but seriously, like God, if you're not trying cuisine from outside your local sphere, God, you're missing out. There's so much good shit.
I don't trust people who only eat their own kind of day-to-day cuisine.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's so much good food. Whether it's you're talking about like Italian pastas or yeah, Sri Lankan and Indian curries. You've got fucking wonderful one pot dishes from Africa. You've got fucking like even the fucking British have some good shit. Like
yeah.
they did produce
Yeah, a
chef
lot of people
Ramsay.
make fun of British cuisine, but like
There is some
every
decent
like
shit. There is.
yeah.
Like it's I can go on and on about different cultures. So lately I've been getting into like really getting into like northern Mexican cooking and
Oh,
like
cool.
trying to reproduce like the Nogales steak tacos. I have a wonderful um onion. It's a marinated onion that's marinated in like lime and chili
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, they're like pickled onions that I put on these Nogales steak tacos, which is
Mhm.
like one of my it's an attempt at a recreation recipe from Nogales, Mexico. We had literally this restaurant was like literally in like one of the families like side rooms. They were also ran a restaurant and they would cook outside and they'd bring it in. They'd like eat literally in their home in like this big side room they'd built. Like
Nice.
and they would cook up these absolutely scrumptious tacos that they would grill out in like this clay grill outside.
Nice.
Holy shit! So I've been trying to recreate those with mixed results. I mean, they're good. They're damn good, but they're nowhere near the flavor of the Nogales steak tacos we had there. I've also been kind of looking at like one of the original fusion cuisines. A lot of people don't know this, but tacos al pastor is Lebanese immigrants who came to Mexico brought with them the al pastor tradition. So it's Lebanese cooking techniques with
Mm,
Mexican ingredients.
interesting.
That's what tacos al pastor is.
Ah, that's cool. My
Yeah.
dad was wondering what al pastor like
Yes.
meant and where it came from. I'll tell him that.
Its
Pretty
origin is
cool.
Lebanese Mexican fusion cuisine,
Cool,
and
cool.
they are absolutely delicious. We have actually, God, Springfield actually has some really good food. We got a place called the Taco Joint that has an incredible taco al pastor. But again, the goal here is to try to make it myself. And so one of the things I've been trying to do is al pastor, and it's really in the pineapple, like in how you utilize that and how much, because you can overdo the pineapple, and that's what I've done a couple times. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's all in how you utilize the pineapple, and it's also you have to cook it. You have to cook the meat in strips over an open fire. It's kind of the al pastor. It's how it gets that nice
Okay.
char. And so it's outdoor cooking at its finest. And so now that the weather's warmed up, like that's kind of my goal for the year is to perfect al pastor and to perfect Nogales steak tacos. But again,
Cool.
I don't have the right kind of clay. I can already tell. Like there's something off about the flavor, and I have no way of finding out
Yeah.
from those people like what type of clay did you use, because holy shit,
Yeah.
because they grilled it with it's a clay grill they used. Like I'll never forget that. And that's tougher than it sounds actually,
Yeah.
because
Clay
clay
pots
would
are
break.
very nice to cook with because it's also like it's a little healthier than cooking in aluminum as well.
It is,
Like,
yes,
yeah.
it is, and it
Yeah.
takes us back to our roots. Like it takes us back to our roots of
Oh,
like
yeah.
as humans, because yeah, we didn't always fucking have aluminum, and yeah, while
Yeah.
it's convenient to cook in, like you said, it's very unhealthy. But yeah,
Yeah.
anything else good?
I have a cousin in India who only cooks in clay pots. He's
Oh,
very strict about that. He never cooks in aluminum.
well, it's good. And if you're gonna do a
Yeah.
genuine tandoor, you're gonna have to do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like a legitimate tandoor. Although, um, you got to be careful with that too. I did a chicken vindaloo and I got it too hot, and holy shit!
Mhm.
Oh,
Oh, Vindaloo, like, gets you. It gets
oh,
you.
burnt so
Yeah, I
bad,
remember the
burnt
first time
so
I had
fucking bad.
Vindaloo was when I was, like, 8, and I had it for the first time, and I couldn't speak for, like, the rest of the dinner.
Oh, it's well, and what happened was I got a hold of some peppers called Naga Morix.
Mhm.
We decided to use that in it, and
Mm.
that was a fucking stupid mistake. Um, the back of my throat is where I really felt it. Like I literally felt like it was fucking on fire. Like I could not. Yeah, it was one of those deals where yeah, it literally takes the voice out of you. It takes your voice away.
Yeah.
It's that fucking spicy. But oh god.
Yep.
I just wouldn't use Nagamorix again. I would back that down. Maybe go to like the Dorset Naga. Maybe even that's a pretty spicy pepper too, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
There are some fucking incredibly like everybody always jumps like the boot jalokia, like your ghost pepper. But I don't know. I actually think the Nagamoric is more punishing, if not as hot. Like
Interesting.
it's objectively not as hot because it's under a million
Yeah,
Scoville.
I just out of curiosity, I looked at the Scoville level for the Scotch bonnet that I used today. Turns
650.
out it's like right under habanero. Habanero's spicier, and then
Shit, usually Scotch
uh
bonnets are spicier than regular habaneros.
yeah, Scotch bonnet was spicy, but it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's usually
I
around the
know it's like
650K is usually where it sits.
yeah, it was close to the habanero. Of course, it's nowhere close to Carolina Reaper and um
No,
ghost pepper and things
yeah,
like
those
that.
are
And
stupid
then
peppers.
jalapeno is like way down at the bottom.
Yeah, and those are stupid peppers anyway, man. Like those are novelty peppers. Like literally, like the use of the boot jalokia. Like people don't know this. Like, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe I'm wrong on this, but I have heard that like the actual use of the boot jalokia, they will staple those defenses to keep elephants from trampling their crops. Like that's what they do. Like
Yeah.
nobody actually fucking eats those until recent times with crazy ass modern people. Like it's just a stupid pepper. Same thing with the Carolina Reaper or the Trinidad Scorpion, or all these stupid ass fucking peppers. Um, about as hot as I'll go, like realistically speaking, is like a fatali, which is an African chili, and it registers anywhere from 700,000 to 900,000.
Oh my god.
That's about as hot as I'll go. Like the Dorset Naga's close. Dorset Naga is anywhere from 700 to a million. Um, Depending on the pepper you got. I think we got closer to the million on this one batch of peppers. Stupid hot again. At a certain point, the Scoville doesn't even matter. I feel like at a certain point, like a pepper is just gonna be, it's just gonna feel like searing hell. Like it
Yep.
doesn't even matter at a certain point. like, like,
Yeah.
oh, hot. So, all righty. Well, I think that's everything for me. Do you have anything else?
That's it. That's it. I'm just glad I remembered to mention the yasa that I made.
Oh yeah, I'm glad too because yeah, chicken yassa is absolutely amazing. And let me check something real quick because actually, before I ask if you had fun, I've got some news to break to you potentially.
Oh man.
And that is that you have beaten Emily's
Oh my
time record.
god. Did we
Yep,
really?
actually
Wow.
by 5 minutes. Yeah. So yeah,
Wow.
she was 340
I didn't
and
intend to do that, but
you did
cool.
it.
We did it.
So
Yeah.
that said, I guess I got one last question for you, Nish. Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was great. I had a good time. Thanks for having me on.
Good
And
time, man.
this was like a binge week for you. You had OJ, Andy, and me like back to
Yeah,
back.
yep, back to
So
back to back every other
kudos
day.
to you.
Every other day. Yeah, it's again that's kind of the thing. Like the one thing because everybody people seem to like this show apparently.
Yeah,
And the one thing that I get is like, man, can you keep to a schedule? And my answer is nope. But and that's gonna stop it from getting too big. But at the same time, enjoy them when they come, and just think of
yeah.
them as like a little exclusive thing. Like, yeah, I don't have a
And
schedule,
there
but
are times where I go back and watch the ones that I missed. Like I went back and
yeah,
watched
you
Andy
can always
B's because I missed that live, and OJ's because I was busy during
sure.
the time of it as well. And I listened to Nimbus as well. That one was great. I don't know if I didn't get to see that live because that was like very early in the morning,
Yeah,
but
that
I
was one
watched that
I
a
because
little later.
I always work around the guest. That's just that's courtesy
Yeah,
as a host. I feel like that's something I can do. But yeah,
yeah,
yeah, people tend to like these, so I'm gonna keep doing them. But you know, at the same time, like yeah, schedule's probably beyond me. I'm old, I'm cranky, and when I want feel like doing it, I'll do it. When I get a good guest, I'll do it. If not, leave me alone. But
yeah. For
um,
me, with anything content wise, I don't have a schedule. I tried to like live stream every weekend, but I was like, no, I can't even do that because
yeah,
just
it's
things come up. Things come up. Life gets in the way.
shit comes up. Life is too short for schedule. I already have to do a schedule for my job. Like I feel like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna do a schedule for other shit. Unless I have to, like doctor's visits, shit like that. But yeah, this is not one of those things. So All righty. He says that would be awesome. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. And then, aw, shucks, Nish, is what Upper Nimbus says. So, all righty. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and cut everybody loose. That way you can go enjoy what's left of your weekend. Not much, but see y'all later. I love y'all. Get the fuck out of here. Talk to you later.
Later, guys. Have a good night or good day, and thanks for joining. Later.